All right, welcome collectors. You have made it here for hour 13 of Hobby Palooza 2024. Who knows how many hours this show will actually be, because this crew's been known to go for quite a few marathons. But so I have given them control of the studio in this case. Hopefully that works out for me. But before they get started, I have to remind everybody again, this is all in promotion of the charity Signatures for Soldiers. And I've got it all lined out for how you can donate to that charity. And I do have the pleasure of announcing that we are over $4,000 here in day one of Hobby Palooza. So, but here is that video, and then those guys will get started right after that. So. The official charity of Hobby Palooza 2024 is Signatures for Soldiers. Since 2014, it has been their mission to help serve those who served our nation when it called on them and who now need our help. They work in cooperation with other charitable organizations to assist veterans with disabilities, homeless veterans, and existing members of the armed forces and their families who need extra support. Their efforts have been documented in Forbes and Beckett magazines. They will be operating a booth at the National, which is their biggest fundraising. It's a charity auction with the support of Heritage Auction House. For more information, visit signaturesforsoldiers.com. To donate to Signatures for Soldiers for our Hobby Palooza event, please use PayPal Goods and Services to send your money. Last year, Mike's PayPal account was frozen by too many people using friends and family. I will happily donate the PayPal fee myself to make your donation whole. Send it to jecoffma@yahoo.com. That was jecoffma@yahoo.com. For every $10 donated, you will have an entry to one of the pieces of artwork created by Scott of Reindeer Studios or Eric Fourleaf that they will be making live on their Hobby Palooza show. Additionally, for collectors have 50 exclusive quad auto channel cards available to the first 50 people who donate and request one. In the notes section with your PayPal payment, at a minimum, please include your YouTube handle. If you want to get one of the autographed channel cards, also include your mailing address. Every dollar collected will be presented by check to Signatures for Soldiers at the National in Cleveland. Thank you for supporting this worthy cause.
A full house here indeed. So I want to thank John for the great setup and everything, and I appreciate him including the video, giving all the instructions and everything. I was actually trying to listen just to see if it came out on my end. So hopefully you guys heard the little blurb at the beginning. I think John said over $4,000 raised already. So that's a really excellent number. Well done. So congratulations, John and the team and everybody else that did the live streams. I checked in a few times. Bobby was already on a live stream earlier tonight with the Hobby News Daily folks. So let me read a couple of the comments here. We'll get all caught up. Some of you were ready way ahead of time. Zach was ready right out of the blocks. Carlos didn't want to do Hobby Palooza, but Eric begged him to. Oh, that's truth. It's all about Eric. It's all about Eric's requests. Yeah, personally, Eric goes to Carlos, I need to read these people a book. I need them to be cultured. I said, Eric, fine. If that's what you want, we're going to do it. It's like, thanks for being a man of the people. Of course, Zach, I appreciate you. And don't forget to hit the like button. That's going to come up again here in a second. Saddler Fan 21, do we have an estimated words per minute on Eric's reading of War and Peace? Guys, he's been practicing all day. It's fantastic. It's going to be great.
At least seven words per minute.
7 words per minute minimum. Now, if he stumbles over his word, he might have to start again. That's a different problem. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I'll introduce everybody here in a second. Some of those folks you already know, but we'll introduce everybody.
I thought he was going to do Dante's Inferno.
Listen, I think I'm still a fan of 100 Years of Solitude. 100 Years of Solitude. Eric could read that. Eric can relate. I think it'd be on brand. I think you'd enjoy it. Last stream of the day. This is true. Carlos almost a 5K subs. Look, I've done this already. Jason, I explained this to Eric, and Eric didn't believe me. It's like, we're going to bounce up and down. I've been to 5K subs like 4 times already. I've been to 5K subs. I've gone off 5K subs, on it, off, on it, off. It's like, we'll do it for 300 years. Don't even worry about it. Philly Joe, good evening, Carlos and gang. Yes, absolutely. Paul says, remember, Eric pays a like button. Truth. 100%. Good evening, Rick. Good evening, Mike Ham, Orlando. Let's see here. By the way, the 2 Florida guys, you're going to have to inspire your team. We were watching off in the distance. If the Edmontonians are going to win, if they're going to break the streak of Stanley Cups, a Canadian Stanley Cup, and it's like on the Florida man watch, I'm very disappointed, gentlemen. I'm very disappointed. I expected more. Eric always needs to pay. That's right. Glicks cards, great show footage, absolutely. For Ham. Good evening, Jeff. Stuke. Peacemaker cards. I'm a man of peace. I enjoy that. Very nice. So let me scroll through here. I want to make sure I get caught up. Victor. See, this chat is actually quite busy. Good job, guys. It's Chris, Missouri. Looking forward to this. Good to hear. Let's see here. The over-under Carlos going 3.5 hours. Well, we already talked about how slow Eric reads. We'll see. We'll find out. He's got the over. I love it. Double D sports cards. Absolutely. I told you, Orlando, you got to make a phone call and get them inspired. Get these people inspired. Mr. Jen in the house. There you go. Perfect. All right. I'm caught up in the comments for now. We'll try to keep that as we go, but we'll see how it goes. So first, I want to introduce everybody across the board. First, Jason, Cards and Comics. Had chance. I've had him on my channel a number of times. He, of course, knows Clemente Collector. We're familiar with each other. And he's been on my channel a number of times. So, Jason, how are you today?
Very good. Glad to be here. Supporting this charity. Great to be here.
Absolutely. And Eric is here to support us in all our endeavors, including paying for the like button. These are facts. Yes, no doubts. Brandon, Baubles and Ball Cards. A little tardy, Mr. Baubles and Ball Cards. But good evening. How are you?
I am a little tardy. I actually told the wife, I remembered that Monday when we recorded that I committed to this engagement. Although I am not going to lie, I'm pretty exhausted, but I am here. So
I will bet you the scintillating reading from Eric is going to wake you up. I think that's going to excite everybody. He's going to play all the roles. He's been working on voices. I think it's an audiobook waiting to happen right now.
God.
And of course, we have Bobby Burrell from the Garage of Knowledge, as always. Appreciated making a second appearance on this very live stream series. Hobby News Daily earlier. Bobby, how are you this evening?
Doing great. Like I said, round 2, ready to go.
Absolutely. It's going to be a little different. We may not talk about serial killers or murderers on cards. That might not come up in this one. I'm sorry, Paul. Go back and check the Hobby News Daily. That did come up. Ray Caruth was invoked. It had nothing to do with us. I don't know if Bobby had anything to do with this, but I'm just saying Ray Caruth was invoked. The Menendez brothers were invoked. That all happened earlier this afternoon. And of course, we got Wes here. Wes, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. I have to actually put my Aaron Hernandez collection away. So I'm going to go off screen for a minute while I do that, since we've already covered serial killers. Also, I can't wait to hear Eric read War and Peace in a Bostonian accent.
Mm-hmm. There's no doubt.
Sick.
There'll be a lot of chowder.
That's never happened before, and I can't wait.
I think that's going to be sensational. That's going to be awesome. Indeed. Many more, but the chat was feeding it. I have no doubt. Listen, once you get this, we know from personal experience, I'll just say, we did, believe it or not, we do have a theme and topic. This is not really my style to actually have a theme or topic. It just kind of goes where it goes. But everybody on this screen does have a role to play in a theme. So I did invite them for different reasons. I'll explain that here in a second. But when it comes to a lot of it, I was listening to the different topics that everybody's coming up with. I said, we should probably do that. Otherwise, it's just Friday night on a Saturday night. There'd be absolutely no difference whatsoever. I'd have to hit $1 Million Man memes, and it's like it would just be the same stuff that we're used to on Friday. So can't completely do it that way. So we'll definitely have a little fun with that. There you go. Put the Ray Lewis cards away. That's right. This is facts.
Hey, right, now
got a question.
I
here.
take offense to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the guy who stabbed took offense to it too. So
yeah, it was brought up. So that was part of it. I asked the question of Hobby News Daily. What do they collect besides baseball players? We're actually going to touch on that. And yes, the answer was killers, but no judgment here. No judgment at all. No O.J. Simpson player error breakdown? Alas, no. Unless one of these gentlemen collect O.J. Simpson, in which case, again, no judgment. Winning the 2025 National with John Wayne Gacy's house a few miles away. Live the dream, Paul. See, like, Paul would have been the guy for the chat when it went that way. Paul was the guy that I would have entrusted to lead the charge on the chat.
Paul's a sick man.
Yeah.
He is? Yes. All right. So anyway, the theme of tonight, for the most part, most of the people on the screen in some way have player collections. Different sports, by the way. So in different categories. We got a little bit of a mixed bag of different folks. Jason has great Ken Griffey Jr. cards in addition to other projects he works on. He's also got a Roberto Clemente collection. So a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. So we got to mix in that regard. Eric collects one hockey player that I think he made up. He's an SB signature legend as far as I'm aware. We have to look him up. I have no idea who it is. And Eric can't even pronounce his name correctly. So I have no idea what kind of a fan he actually is. It deeply disturbs me. But he claims that he exists. Wes over here has a great Zach Martin collection. So we got a little football to go along with a Miro Heiskanen collection. Obviously, he's based out of Texas. So we've got that in common. So Bobbles, myself, and Wes all have in common in the Discord we participate in that we're the Dallas Star fans. So we chat about that. Modano's my main guy. But tonight, if I'm going to talk about some player collecting, I'll stick to my guy from Green Bay, number 4, Brett Favre. So I'll stick to that one. That's the one I put some cards nearby. Brandon has Jason Robertson, and I think you've got also some Nationals players that you've also collected through. So we can go baseball, we can go hockey, we can go back and forth. And Bobby, even though not specifically collecting player collections, given his background in studying a lot of these issues, there's a ton of food issues, more obscure oddball issues, and a lot of it where if you are a player collector who collects in vintage, Bobby can add a little flavor to that and be well versed in it, and adding a little bit. If you were a player collector who wanted to collect vintage, kind of in the same vein as Jason with the Clemente, you're not going to be looking for prism parallels. You're going to be looking for some of these oddball issues, food issues, and some of these other things. And that's where it adds a little bit of flavor to it. So everybody's got a little bit something to add to it.
The tough
So with that
stuff.
said, I think a little bit of tough stuff, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the horn in order here, and I'm going to ask everybody. So first, Jason, either one. You can go Roberto Clemente or you can go Griffey. What got you down the path of collecting the player?
Clemente, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
First card, my dad brought me a card home when I was in high school, and then that started the journey around 1986.
That's the one that got you going. That's a ship, the first one that launched 1,000 Clemente ships going forward after that.
100%. And then, you know, as you collect, you branch out. But if you know, the last card I'd sell my collection would be a Clemente card.
Very nice, very nice. And I'm going to come back to that. The reason I wanted to let everybody pick one is that as kind of their origin story for it. And by the way, you can pick any one of them that you want. I'm good with it. But the reason I asked, I'm going to come back to it because I'm going to ask a little question about how you prioritize. When it comes time to go looking for something, maybe a couple of options are available. How do you pick between one of a couple of? I know that from personal experience, and the rest of us have experienced that as well. So that's part of it. And I'll kind of keep an eye on the chat. And if there's anything you guys want to chat about on that, feel free to chime in as well. All right, Eric, you basically collect one guy. So why?
In 1987, he came to the Boston Bruins and helped the Boston Bruins beat the dreaded Montreal Canadiens curse in the playoffs. He made one of the greatest saves in playoff history against Pat Verbeek and the New Jersey Devils. And although we lost to Gretzky and the Oilers in the finals, he put the team on his back and got the Boston Bruins to the Stanley Cup Finals in 1988. Andy Moog had just come over from Edmonton, so he played the majority of the finals games because they were his former teammates and he knew how they played. But Reggie was definitely the star of that playoff run, and I just was so impressed by that, and beating the Canadians for the first time in God knows how long was something special. So he's always.
I'm actually deeply disturbed that you're getting support. That kind of concerns me a little bit. I'm just going to say it concerns me a little bit. But nonetheless, you did get a little support. So Wes, I'll offer you the option, but I think the Zach Martin one might be a little bit more interesting. But look, I leave it to you. You can go either direction. What would you prefer?
Yeah, I'll stick with Zach Martin just to be a little different, since there's a lot of hockey guys in the chat tonight. Essentially, I'm kind of a contrarian a little bit, and while all these other people are collecting position players and quarterbacks, I wanted a surefire Hall of Fame player on my favorite team who didn't play a premier position. So I chose a right guard, Zach Martin, for the Dallas Cowboys, and that's actually paid off pretty well for me. I just decided that I wanted to collect several rainbows, so I started there, and it's gotten completely out of hand, but I don't care at this point. Yeah, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to be as decorated as Larry Allen was, and they don't get much better than that dude. So, kind of worked out.
Perfect. And you do have indeed a very thorough Zach Martin collection. If you guys do get a chance, do check out. He's got his Instagram handle there. If you want to check it out, you'll it'll direct you. Go take a look, and you'll find some interesting stuff on there. So I do recommend it as well. So Dan, you're adding Zach Martin from Notre Dame. Okay,
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Nice. So Bobby, I'll phrase your question this way. Obviously, you've been a long time Leaf fan and all that, but if you were inclined to go a player collection, who would be the player? Can obviously be any era. So what direction would you go if you went that way?
Player collector, I think there's two, but I would really pick Boris Salmi. He was one of my very favorite players. His passing of late was hard to take so early in life, and he was such an amazing. It was too bad he was stuck with the Leafs, because he really would have went somewhere if he was with a better team, so to speak. Because the 70s and the 80s, for the Leafs wasn't the greatest time. It was hard being a Leaf fan, and it still is to this day.
That's fair. That's fair. I agree.
So
Appreciate
if
some
I
of
was
the
to collect, I do have some cards, but I'm mostly a historian, so I'm documenting all the cards and the little differences, the nuances of a set. Those kind of things is what I'm trying to do. So I don't really collect so much into cards, but I love documenting. I know the history of all the companies and what have you. So
very
some
nice, very
understand
nice.
it differently. So
I think that's fair. And Brandon, you have a couple of options. What direction do you want to go?
I'm ready. I'm ready, Carlos.
That's
Go ahead.
what's happening.
No,
There it is. It's
actually,
coming.
Just for the pump.
I want to go
It's for the
with.
pump.
I'm going to put a combo here with. You mentioned the Nationals players.
You do have a couple, yeah.
My two main guys on the Nationals both play the same position. So I'm going to put them together, but it's Michael Taylor and Victor Robles. And they both kind of go hand in hand why I collect them. But growing up, I was a huge baseball fan. And in the 90s, when the steroid thing came out, it pissed me off as a kid, and I felt like they were just lying to us. And so I hated baseball for the longest time. And me and my wife stayed up watching every game during the 2016 World Series with the Cubs and Indians, and watched the Cubs, break that losing streak they had, and it rekindled the love of baseball. And I realized that the minor league team that was nearby, I didn't know if they still existed around here, because I had moved out of state for several years, and sure enough, they did. And they happened to be a low ball. They were high A for the Washington Nationals, the minor league club. At the time, they were called the Potomac Nationals. And me, my wife, and both my kids, we went to our first game together at the little ran down ballpark minor league game. And it was a doubleheader, cold day in April. Nobody showed up, and it just so happened it was a bobblehead game, and they were doing a jersey auction. And I wound up winning Victor Robles' jersey from the second game. And when you got the jersey, you were allowed to get a picture with the player and signed and all that. And so I have a photo that actually is on a custom card from Topps of me and my kids with Victor Robles. And I always rooted for outfielders, specifically center field. Obviously, Griffey growing up, he was great. And so on the pro team, the Nationals, Taylor was playing, and I just appreciated how even when he was struggling, getting called up, sent down, he never gave up. And, I've been able to meet him several times, and just a really good guy all the way around. So I'm going to go with those two and just kind of mash them together.
There you go. Orlando appreciates the story. Very thorough. Thank you for that. And just to keep mine simple, both of the players that I mainly associate with, both I started collecting the mid-90s, started following those teams around that time. It actually worked out well timing-wise. I actually started following them before. They actually ended up having some championship runs right around there. Modano and Favre, he was a quarterback of my favorite of the football team I was following. Modano was the best player on the hockey team I was following. Just happened to work out timing-wise. But I've been collecting Modano the entire time. Favre I was collecting a little bit here and there, but the last couple of years I started to pick that up. But I'm a lot pickier with the football side of the collection. With the hockey, it's more expansive. It's a little bit closer to kind of what Wes has going on with the Zach Martin. Not quite as bad because he's got 5,000-6,000 cards now. It's it would be very difficult. But even then, I have thousands of them. So it's a lot, and that's a very extensive checklist that at this point I have no illusions of getting anywhere near close to completing. And Jason can relate to that because Griffey is 100 times worse. That checklist is absurd, especially since he was the guy in the 90s. He was the star.
Yeah, the 90s cards too, they're getting hot again, but it's like you're finding new ones every year that you
That's
didn't
the
know
one, Carlisle.
existed.
That's the one.
And it's just it makes Griffey a lot of fun, but it also makes it a challenge, and that's also fun too to find new things. And I do feel like collecting a 90s player gets you a lot of cool sets that people forgot about. So that's the one thing about Griffey I really enjoy.
I think that's fair. So let me kind of follow up here. So we got a little bit of background. To get everybody started. Let me ask the obvious question. For Eric, it's very simple. Whatever Reggie Lemonin, and then proper pronunciation. whatever's on there, he basically buys it. If it's not nailed down and it's got his face on it, he'll basically buy it. That's it. So for Eric, I'm recusing him because his situation is very straightforward. The rest of us are a little bit more discerning, just a smidgen. But let me ask Jason. Go ahead. Yeah, just a little bit. But Jason, you've got you're looking at two players here. You got a great, obviously you've got most of the Clemente, but hypothetically, if you got a great Clemente you're interested in doing, you got a great Griffey you're looking after. You can only really attack one. What's the pecking order? Which one gets priority?
Yeah, so I've really picked up my Clemente buying again this year after I got the 68 3D last year. And the way I look at it's like this is really it's around scarcity and opportunity. If I have a lot of opportunity to pick up a card, then I will always choose the card that has the least availability, even if it maybe doesn't fit the collection as well. And then with Griffey, I have two main interests in Griffey. I'm trying to put together every 90s on-card auto and every 90s refractor. So if it falls into those categories of an on-card auto, refractor from the 90s, or a Clemente, then I have to go with how many chances do I have to get this card again? If it's like a 97 embossed refractor that's super rare and I have a chance to pick it up, even if it's very painful from a cost perspective, I will definitely lean into that over getting something more common. So it's just that's sort of how I look at it, is opportunity.
Jason, I'll ask him a question. With your Griffey, do you collect anything beyond the cards, like into the photo shoot that are cards?
Yeah, no, I do. And I've started to, I keep myself very regulated with Griffey because he's so expensive and has so many cards. But if I see something that really catches my eye, a lot of the retro cards sometimes catch my eye. Like they did a reissue of a 91 Stadium Club with his auto. So that 91 Stadium Club Griffey is just a great looking card. To have one with the on-card auto, I will expand my horizon to pick up something like that. But and also there is a blindness in Griffey where people won't collect his Reds cards. And to me, I feel like there's a lot of great cards where he's a red that are very undervalued. And so to me, if I see something that's opportunistic, like essential credentials or something as a red, I'll still pick it up, even though my main focus is still the 90s.
That actually touches on very well and kind of a question that I also have for folks that are collecting a player who maybe has played for multiple teams, because that can be a thing that some folks make a judgment call and they say, all right, I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to say, to the Griffey example, they say, I'll only do Mariners, which is fine. That's your prerogative. That's okay. I actually got a question from Rick for you, Bobby. So say Ray from Philly mentioned a hockey card Hall of Fame. Which cards would be the first 5 cards in the Hall? So the hockey guys here, we can touch on that for a moment. I think we got a Mount Rushmore. If PSA's got a Mount Rushmore, which, by the way, the Mount Rushmore they've got is probably at least modestly accurate. It's not a terrible choice. At least a couple of them on there are probably choices that would be right near the top of the list. I don't know what would be amongst the first 5.
I'm going to be a little bit different than the normal run.
Halgill, I know, but after Halgill,
if I'm going with the populace, it's a different answer than going with a personal choice. I don't know which one he really wants.
I think he's saying, hypothetically, and if you do this, what would be amongst the first 5 cards? So I think you got to go with whatever iconic, notable, maybe historic. Obviously, the populace matters, but if there's something that clearly stands head and shoulders, I think it's worthy.
Yeah, well, definitely we have to go with the C56 Vesna. We have to go with the I'm going to put this in there because there's the Stanley Cup card that was issued by Champ Cigarettes. It's the very first and only card of the Stanley Cup, which we all play for the last 100 years. And no other card was done until the 70s or late 60s of a Stanley Cup. So I would pick that card. Right. It's a redemption card. It's extremely difficult. A beat up copy, it's $4,000 or $5,000. It's just such a rare card and very emblematic of hockey. We got Howie Morenz, his V145 or his William Patterson 1923 card is definitely that. We have some short prints that I don't think I would include because of their sense of rarity, but not their sense of value in the playing field. We have to get into
The 54 tops, how is going
I'm
in
gonna
there,
have
Bobby?
to say the 54 tops how, but everyone likes the 51. It's just the 51 is very cartoonish to me, and I don't really appreciate it very much. Where the 54 is artwork and it's very beautiful. We have the Bobby Horn, the Bobby.
That's a Freudian slip that'll come up again. Eric, that one's heading to Friday.
Yes,
it's coming back around.
It's coming back, yeah. So we got Bobby Orr and Wayne Grith. Yeah, I guess we'll have to put it in there for the 5th.
I think that's reasonable. I think
there's so many more, but
there's a lot of choices. But I think when Eric's saying though, when Rick is saying the first 5 though, I think your 54 tops how gets there because I think it is an aesthetically great. It's basically the 52 tops equivalent. It's not the rookie, but it's like it's the nicer looking, more associated one that a lot of people want to chase after. The Vesna to me is an automatic. It gets there, by birthright at this point. The Gretzky is there right now, and probably a player whose name will be revisited on Friday. I think the Bobby Orr will probably get there. I think that's your 4th. And then your 5th can be, kind of choose your own adventure because you do have a lot of choices. You can go with the Howie Morenz that Bobby mentioned. That's logical. I think the first 4 though in hockey are almost automatic. You're basically stuck picking between those 4 as standard.
Well, the Howie Morenz is really referred to as the Babe Ruth of hockey in that era. So you really have to give it to Howie at that point. Sure. And he died very early, of a broken leg, and some say broken heart. I guess, his career was over. He was the greatest, and at that time, it was unfortunate. But his card really garners quite a significant dollar, comparatively speaking to Vesna's rookie card, which I'm not even fond of. I like his C57 card. See, the C57 series is actual photos. The 3rd series in the 1910s, and they're real photos of the players, which I really like. The other ones are hand drawn. They were etched on limestone in reverse. So they look like them, but not as like a real photo does. And I really like the C57 cards more than the C56.
That's fair enough. And Bobby may have written a couple of books on the subject. So that's why he can go in a little bit of depth on this one. So thank you, Rick, for the question. A lot of fun question to ask. So let me kind of shift over a little bit. I'm going to ask the same question of Brandon in the same vein. Is it the same thing? Is it kind of an opportunity thing? Multiple players. You got budgets. You got to stay within a certain budget, but a couple of them come up at the same time. What's the pecking order? What's getting priority? You have to choose one in this case to attack more aggressively. Which one is getting your attention?
Well, when I go between Taylor and Robles, I do Robles more casually, and Taylor is more like I have things that I'm actually trying to complete for him. Sure. Yep. So he would be priority if it was something that came up that I didn't have that I was actually wanting. Robles also has a ton of stuff because, he was obviously more recent than Taylor. So a lot more selection there for him. So yeah, it would be Taylor. And I have a quick question for Jason because he mentioned I collect Griffey. I'm not as structured as it sounds like you are. But you mentioned the on-card autos. Do you accept the 91 Arena hologram as his first on-card auto, even though it's not like licensed or whatever?
Yeah, I think that definitely is. I think I think he's got some other cards out there that are kind of unlicensed as well, some autographs. So it to me, it's just if it's on card and it was from a manufactured perspective, it was put in a pack or it was given away as a promo, that to me counts. I don't try to make it completely be from a manufactured like Tops or Upper Deck. It has to be pack pooled. But it does go down the list, so I do value it a little less than something that was put in a pack or something that was from a major manufacturer, card manufacturer. So, because to me, it's just, just as a kid, I'm looking at me as a kid. Those weren't the cards I was really enamored with, and so it's kind of further down the list of things I would buy.
I've always looked at that card as interesting because it is, on the checklist of Griffey, it's the first one that's an auto for him. And it's also very reasonable. So like anytime people have talked about getting a Griffey auto, I've always suggested it because it's got that, you know, that 90s hologram look to it. And then it's a little unique with the autograph being on the back. Some may not like it because then you got to decide how you want to display it. But if you're looking for an autograph, I've always thought it's a great entry. And they actually have Barry Sanders, and I can't remember if Montana is also in that set, but there's a lot of good name players in that arena hologram autograph set. So
No, definitely. And it's cool that it was first. I think that could make a big difference in the future. I think right now the 90s cards are getting sorted out. People don't know what's truly rare. People don't, you know, it's being discovered all the time. What cards were truly low printed, what cards met those on pack auto or on pack odds, because some of them weren't, you know, as rare as the pack said, and there was backdoored versions of cards. So I think we're starting to really learn what the true print runs for some cards are after all these years. So it's cards like that could suddenly become very expensive in the future if we find out that it was actually pretty tough to get.
I always enjoy the changing narrative once something becomes, it's like, actually, this is very rare. It's like, you could have gotten it all along if you really wanted to chase after it, like it was there. Like, and, oh, now I want it. Oh, like, oh, well, obviously now it goes to the top of the checklist. Why didn't you say so? So Wes, I'm going to ask you kind of a twofold question. So first, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked again. How do you prioritize? Zach Martin, you got most of the stuff you're looking for. So I don't know if maybe I don't know if that makes it a bigger priority if you actually find something you need. Maybe that pushes it to the top. Or do you look at some of the other stuff? Like, so that's the first question. Second question is, when you're trying to keep track of your own stuff, do you have a system at this point? That's kind of a question I'm going to pose to everybody else. So the two questions for you.
Yeah. So yeah, I do have most of the Zach Martin stuff, especially the rookie stuff. A lot of low numbered, a lot of gold, a couple 1-of-1s. Right now I'm trying to branch out and find more on-card auto stuff. None of his rookie stuff has any on-card autos. They're all stickers, unfortunately. He didn't sign with Topps. There's actually a set of replacement autograph cards that were never signed on eBay that I've been eyeballing for a while. So I kind of want a little more unique stuff. I try to get things that are really low numbered. At this point, gold is always a big player, 1-of-1s, etc. So that's kind of where I go, but it comes in phases, like everybody's player collector does. Like one day there'll be 20 things up that I want, and then there won't be anything for 3 months. And so I also, you mentioned this earlier, but I collect Miro Heiskanen as well. And so I fill that in when there's no Zach Martin stuff that I need or want. For a while there, I was content with getting rainbows in raw or graded. Now I've kind of replaced some of the stuff in that rainbow with PSA 10 stuff as it's come available, and it's been cheap enough. I just figured, why not, instead of spinning the wheel and sending my own stuff in. As far as how I keep track of it, all the Premiere stuff I put on Flickr, and I have everything separated into folders, so it gets scanned front and back. It gets put into a specific folder for the player. And then from there, I upload, anywhere from 1 to 200 to his specific folder on Flickr, so that I can keep track of what I have. I have my touch of the tism is that I can remember things very clearly. So more often than not, I can look at something and be like, oh yeah, I already have that. I have that. So there's not a lot of forgetting that I have something. So thankfully that's my the way I track things. I don't keep spreadsheets. It's all pretty much up here and on Flickr. And secondarily, I keep it on Instagram as they come up and things like that. So I know in my head what I need and what I'm looking for. And hopefully I don't get hit by a bus, but we'll see.
I actually I'm impressed by that, but at the same time, like I was using the same kind of system where I would kind of memorize it visually. I'd be able to look at the card and figure out like, yep, I got that one, or no, I don't have that one. After a while, though, once enough parallels came into it, I was like,
Yeah.
You know what? I think I've got that one, but wait, is that the green one, or is that the dark green one with the sparkles on top? Like, what the hell is that? What are we doing?
Well, you're player collector, Mike Modano, and you have 4,000. Or
I have about 2,600 right now, and he's got about 6,000.
Yeah. Wow. I only have like 600 Zach Martins, so I'm not anywhere near that number. Yeah. But my playing days parallel count is probably 3 times what yours is, just because of the craziness of the last 10 years of Parallel City. So, but I do have a pretty good idea of what I need, and so there have been a couple of times where I have bought doubles of things unintentionally, but I just pretend that I didn't, and they just go in the binder. So
denial's a hell of a drug. It's very impressive.
It's awesome. Yep.
Yeah,
I just lie to myself and make excuses for my behavior, and it's fine.
Eric knows those feels. If anyone on this panel knows those feels, Eric knows those feels every single day of his life.
Yeah.
But I think what was funny to me, in the same vein as I remember when the player completionist became extinct. Once enough one-of-ones came into it, it's like, you're not going to complete this. It's not a matter of money. It's not a matter of will. It's just opportunity and the combination of if one person has one of these one-of-ones and they refuse to give it up, the game's over. You're done. So at that point, it became extinct. But some people try, and bless them. But I gave up on that.
I've tried to make friends with. I'm sorry. I've tried to make friends with the guy who has the 2014 Topps Chrome Superfractor. Just be like, buddy, in the event that he does get hit by a bus, it gets left to me, maybe, or whatever. Yeah, it is wishful thinking.
You need to get friends with the wife, because that's who's going to end up selling the cards.
That West guy seems like a nice guy. I bet he would appreciate this. I think it'd be great.
Let me hold this for you. I'll keep track of it, and so anyway. But there are certain cards, like you said, there's Grail cards that I will never ever have a chance to own. It's just not going to happen. And so you just kind of come to that realization, and you're like, whatever.
See, I'm back to the murder. As soon as you brought it up, I was like, we're all circling right back to the murder system. We didn't even need to mention Ray Caruth again. Like we got there anyway. We got there anyway.
I'm glad your last name is there, Paul.
Exactly. Now they know. So Eric, are you in the Boston area? It seemed alleged to me. I remember you being somewhere outside of sunny scenic Tonawanda, as memory serves me. But you claim to be from the Boston area.
I claim to be 20 minutes north of Boston, in the North Shore area.
That's fair. Brandon also claims to be 20 minutes north of Boston, just for the hell of it, just because he thought it would be funny. It's like, I'm a Spartacus, you're a Spartacus, we're all Spartacus.
I live next door to Eric.
Yeah, we're all 20 minutes outside of Boston. Like, it's truthful.
20 minutes north.
Well, I mean, in fairness, everybody says I'm so old that I was there for the Tea Party. So, I mean, come on. I have to
you
be
instigated it. Like, I'm confident you instigated. That sounds like something you would do.
Oh, absolutely. Come on, guys. Follow me.
You were probably really mad because somebody like stepped on your toe earlier in the day. You're like, what? We're overthrowing the monarchy today. Like, it seems like an overreaction, but very well. American history was changed. This is how it goes, how it goes. So thank you all for the comments. Stu was mentioning added a couple of nice kilobrews today. Candy lid proven 1970 Kellogg's cut from the box. Very nice. That's kind of what I was mentioning. So that's kind of in the vein what I was discussing kind of with what Jason does. So that's why I say he's kind of in two worlds. You got the more modernish player, like Griffey is a 90s, 2000s player. But then Clemente, they make newer cards with him on it. Like, and I don't know if any of that interests you, Jason, but like, if you're talking about like the historical, like the real playing days and cards like that, that's when you get into some of the more obscure issues. That's something like where maybe a lid proof or a Kellogg's or something like that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
From that perspective, I assume you built a checklist like that, and have you made your way most of the way through that, or there's still some stuff you're looking for those?
No, on the specialty cards, the food issue is I'm pretty weak on that. And I'm weird in my mind. I start in one area, so I really am interested in the cons cards, and I want to get the cons cards first, and so I'm really focused on getting those. I picked up my first one. I picked up a 62 cons this year. My goal is to get a 57 cons this year as well. The first year for cons. Obviously the 58 and 59 are very rare, so to me the cons are just the nicer looking of a lot of those specialty issues. But bazookas, postcards, O-Pee-Chee cards, I am somewhat further down the list on O-Pee-Chee. I only need a few of those to complete my Peachy run. But Venezuelans are really rare, and so in fact there's a 67 up right now, a 1.5 that's close to $4,000 for a 1.5. So it just shows you like the set collector guys are out there in force for those kind of cards. So to me, it's like it's not high on my list just because it's so expensive. I can take that money and get other cards I find to be more attractive or more in my wheelhouse. But you can see the thing with Clemente is something super rare and hard to get is expensive in Clemente, and you get a lot of people chasing it, and it makes it a little more of a challenge.
Yep, makes sense.
And a lot of it is same way for Griffey. So it is kind of one of those things where I do have other player I collect that have less challenging registries or let's say competition, and that's sometimes you get a relief from trying to be in those really high pressure collectors or PCs that sometimes you get outbid quite a bit and you kind of get discouraged.
I think that makes sense. Now, kind of what I was going to ask, they are very much so. Now, I was going to kind of ask, though, in the same vein of kind of what I think Bobby was alluding to a little earlier, for you. So let's use Clemente, for example. Is it strictly cards, or do you get bobbleheads, pennants, any kind of like magazine covers? Is there anything outside of kind of the card realm that you pick up for stuff?
Well, my dream card outside the 68 3D is a 61 Clemente, Topps Clemente autographed. I missed one a long time ago. I put together my first thing I ever collected outside of Clemente was a 61 Pirates team set commemorating the 60 World Series victory. So it has all the World Series cards. And that's the first thing I put together as a kid. I still have my set I put together from like 1986, 1987 when I went to shows as a kid. And then I eventually got that into a graded form. So I've got the 68 Pirate team set in a graded form. Then I went ahead and collected it again as an autographed form. So every card, autograph, PSA DNA'd. And of course, the Clemente is the big card. There's also the week leaders. I mean, those are kind of like, I'm not sure even exist with him on it. But I do know there are some 61 Topps cards with Clemente's autograph. And I missed one. It's one of those classic. It showed up on my, someone hit a bite now, like 2 seconds it was listed and it was gone. And I've never seen one since. But that would be my dream card, would be a 61 autograph. And then I also have the 61. I have the 61 post set that I'm putting together. I've got the 61 cons set I'm putting together. So I've put together the 61 Pirate team set in almost every way you can put it together from any issue that existed. So that's sort of my other obsession is that 60 World Series team.
So for the record, the way you can tell that this is not Friday is because if Jason had said the word cons that many times, I would have at some point invoked the wrath of Khan, and that's how I would have pronounced it for the duration of the live stream.
5%.
My restraint is the way you can tell. My restraint, Brandon, is the way you can tell. It's a Saturday evening. We are demonstrating some decorum, gentlemen.
It is the best Star Trek movie.
But I'm saying we're showing some decorum for signatures for soldiers. It is for charity, so we're gonna show some decorum, a little bit.
But
Eric will say something at some point that I'm sure will set me off.
You're very
it's only a matter of
today,
time.
So that's
it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, but I do have World Series tickets and things like that. So that 60 team is really important to me. In terms of just how important it was to Pittsburgh and that first World Series and like forever for the Pirates. Mm-hmm. So that's a big one for me. So anything related to that team I collect.
No, that sounds fair. Now, so kind of in the same vein, since I'm touching on that. So I'll ask you one more question kind of related since you just invoked it, and then I'll kind of circle around. And I think we're at about a time where we can start showing off a couple of cards. So everybody, you can brace yourselves appropriately. So just giving you a fair warning. So what I'm going to ask you, though, is since you're invoking that, is there any interest on your end for any memorabilia related to it? Like, tickets or, programs or maybe you already have them, but I'm just curious if anything like that would be of interest to you talking about those World Series.
Yeah, like a team ball, a 60 World Series team ball. The problem with the 60 Pirate team set is the Danny Murtaugh is always a clubhouse signature. So getting one with an actual Murtaugh autograph would be really tough. Sometimes Clemente is a clubhouse signature as well. So you just have to be very careful on buying those kind of balls that were given away to dignitaries and get a real autographed Clemente team ball from that team would be really high on my list of things to get. And obviously, from my perspective, photos and just anything autographed by Clemente is a huge thing to get. He didn't sign like modern players did. I mean, you got to remember, he died so young that he never got to go to card shows and do things like that. So everything he signed was at the ballpark or through the mail or something like that. So it's just Clemente stuff getting autographed is really tough to get something that's collectible, because most of the stuff that he's got is like it's a newspaper, or it's a photo on a ad in a magazine or something, because that's what people had with them when they had him sign stuff. So a lot of the Clemente stuff isn't collectible like we would think about it. Like he doesn't sign bats or balls or things like that we see with Willie Mays or Hank Aaron. So Clemente on really collectible stuff is, to me, really tough. And I think that would be my huge thing, is to get a real 60 Pirates team that has him on it in a Murtaugh. If it was both him and Murtaugh real, that would be huge.
All right, that seems reasonable. I think especially when you go back that far, it becomes a little bit tough. To your point, since he died in the early 70s, I think I want to say 73, 72, 73.
Yeah, between 72. Yeah, right after the 72 season. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, right in that zone. He never got a chance to take advantage of the 80s card show circuit. Like if he had lived and he would retired, go to the Hall of Fame and everything in the 1980s, I'm sure he would have been very into. He could have made a mint just going through the Pittsburgh shows and signing balls and bats and things for whatever. Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, all those guys. Speaking of Willie Mays and everything, but those guys all had the chance during the 80s to do the circuit and sign a whole bunch. With all the fake stuff out there, there's a lot of real stuff that they actually signed. Like, it's because that era opened it up, because it became very lucrative for these guys to make money post playing days. We have this problem in Canada. Johnny Bauer has been dead for years, and he's still signing to this very day. It's deeply disturbing. There's just so many. But I think
I can see 3 of his autographs from my desk.
That's what I'm saying. Not rare in the slightest, but I think that's fair.
Just from turning my head, there's 3 right there.
Well, it got to the point where you wanted just to meet him, opposed to get his autograph. That was the thrill of it all.
He was awesome.
I did think that was kind of fun, though, the various ways that you could get a Johnny Bauer autograph. I did through the mail, because he lived in Mississauga and it worked. I literally got it back with the self-addressed stamped envelope inside of a week. I sent it, and before the end of the week, I had it back in the mail signed.
He answered everything right away. Yeah.
Everything. He signed it, no problem, no questions asked. And I've looked at it, I looked at the other, it's like, it's fine. He just signed it and threw it right in the envelope and sent it right back. They already had the stamp on it. They just threw it in the box. Stu saying John Blatcher should be here in Pittsburgh. He called the wrong pitch and Maz made history. There you go. He's got more Giants fans to collect. Branca as well. There you go. So here you go. So CC says, Jason, given your affinity to 1960, which Clemente card do you prefer, the rookie or the 1960 card?
Yeah, I mean, the rookie is magical from a Clemente collecting perspective. The first PSA graded card I ever owned was a 61 Clemente and a PSA 8. That was the first PSA card I ever owned. That kind of started me on collecting in that style. I quit collecting vintage cards, so I gave up on vintage cards because of getting kind of cards that were trimmed or cards that were altered from dealers back in the day. And so that sort of got me collecting vintage again, was seeing that I could actually trust, or the cards were actually not altered, or the grading the way it is. I mean, you can't say nothing's ever, but it was a lot better than the alternative at the time.
What are you talking about? I trust Beckett with all my PMG related needs.
No,
every single one of them.
Come on.
So
just get me through the next 10 minutes. Come on.
Just poking the bear. Just poking a little bit at a time.
The 61 is pretty much like the foundational piece of my collection, but the Clemente rookie is still something I probably would give up last with the 68 3D. I think the 68 3D and the 55 are the 2 pieces of a Clemente collection that would be the hardest for any collector to give up. And so the third piece would be the 61, because the 61 is so foundational to getting me collecting again vintage.
All right, I think that's fair. And given a lot of the there's for the first day and then for the second day, there's a lot of the different live streams that were themed on vintage. So when Jason said he gave up vintage, I'll just do this on behalf of the folks in the chat that may be keeling over at the moment. It's okay. He collects vintage again. It's fine. Calm down. It's okay. It's okay. He still gets vintage cards. It's okay. But I know there's a lot of vintage sensibilities out there. I collect some vintage as well, but but there's definitely a lot of it. No, I appreciate that. So thank you for that. So give everybody a chance. Like we got about 11 minutes of decorum left. It's a mini countdown. Not that I'm monitoring or anything, but after that, all hell breaks loose. At 1 hour and 1 minute.
Oh damn!
All bets are off. All bets are off. Just letting you know. But okay. I just thought it might be appropriate given all this. So let me read a couple comments here. I pulled over to the highway with my 68 Lundberg 3D. There you go. Fair enough. At least as long as you pull over the highway, it's fine. I agree. The Clemente Roki and the 3D are top tier for me too. Thank you, Victor. Appreciate it. Good stuff. All right. So just curious if anybody wanted to talk through or show off any cards. Obviously, we've got a couple. I kept a couple nearby. So I'll do one first just to give an example. And by the way, you can go in any direction you want. So any direction that you want is fine with me. One of the things that happens, because I've got different types of player collections, I've got the expansive one. The Modano one is more expansive. It's kind of, I collect all kinds of stuff, try to do rainbows, but also collect old, new, whatever, post-playing days, all of it. But with the Favre cards, I do try to be a little bit pickier, but I also try to find stuff that amuses me or that interests me or that is kind of fun for me for whatever reason I find. It can be any reason, but I just need something. It can be the image on there, which I've done before. Wes knows that I've got a lot of mileage out of one image in particular, ton of mileage, but it can be silly stuff like that. So I'm going to show you one. And this one, I've explained it on the channel, but I'll just explain it here. And this one is actually triple threads. And specifically the reason I got it, so I'll zoom in here just so I can show you. I got it because it's got a dual. So it's Gunslinger, but it's also him and Johnny Manziel. So this is 2014.
They share
So
pills.
Exactly. So the thing is, reality, like the card itself, obviously Johnny Manziel doesn't add a ton of value to it. But in 2014, this would have been a pretty big card for him. And obviously it has the player that I'm interested in, but you got autographs on both sides. You got game use on both sides. It's it's a booklet, which is obviously requires this kind of a holder that's a little bit more different just because of that. But did I have to get this specific one out of all the sea of different, like Favre, auto jerseys is dime a dozen. There's tons, a lot of brands, a lot of series over a lot of years. I like this combo because it entertains me. The fact that Manziel is part of this combo, I think makes it more entertaining for me. That made it more interesting for my stuff like that. That's what I'm saying for me.
They're two very swell guys.
Yes.
Yeah, they're very swell.
Yeah.
Both battled drug addiction
9 minutes.
and maybe sexual assault allegations. We'll have to see. Definitely fraud. They share that.
We know that
8 minutes.
That is
8 minutes.
is into photography as a hobby.
That's true.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And it's the older guy who really is into figuring out, photo taking with his phone. Very much learned that. Like, you think that an old dog would learn some new tricks. Like he was willing to take the time to learn the technology in order to make use of tech.
Yeah.
Well, he was motivated. I would.
I believe he was.
I think that's what they call it, is motivation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so. Yes. Very much so. Paul's got the right idea. He knows. 7.5 minutes.
So one of the things that on my channel, I do all the 90s box breaks, and the one card I want to show off here, I don't know if it's hard to see,
Sure.
but
Yeah, I'm going to zoom in. Hold on.
98
Zoom in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
98
There you
Griffey refractor. I actually
Very nice.
pulled this card on my channel in a box. So
Nice.
you get, I think, 2 refractors in a box normally, or maybe 1 in the 98. And I got the Griffey, and they came back a PSA 10, which, it's just kind of crazy to pull your PC guy from a 90s box. And these are numbered out of 400. So you can see on the back, it's numbered there.
You can make that up.
Kind of hard to say. But it's just, cards like that, it makes you, it's just like that's a really big rush when you can pull your PC guy and from something that's actually pretty tough to pull from the 90s and actually have it come back graded a 10. That's like, it's probably only going to happen to me once. So it was kind of fun to have that happen at least once.
That's awesome.
Well, exactly. But then that plays perfectly into what I'm saying. So in that specific card, it's a cool card to begin with. But the fact you pulled the card yourself, the fact you were able to get it graded yourself, it got a great grade, and there you go. It's a PC card you pulled out of a box.
Yeah.
So you have that going for, as opposed to just finding it on eBay, or as opposed to just you go grab it at a show, you negotiate, you make it. That's still good, by the way. Getting the card is still cool either way if it fits in your collection. But that extra story of pulling it yourself, that adds a little something to it. So I think that's good.
And it's recorded on my channel, so you can watch that video and see my reaction to it, because it just about put me on the ground, because it's just so unexpected. There's to see a card like that pop out of a box that's been sitting there for 30 plus years, something like that. It's kind of cool.
I think that makes sense. Wes, you want to go? You look like you're ready.
Yeah, I'll just present if that's okay. That's probably the easiest thing to do.
Yep, I got you. You're all good. Go for it.
All right. Hold on one second.
Oh wait. Oh, so you're gonna share screen basically? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take care of that once you're ready. Yep, no problem.
There we go.
I'll bring that up. All
So
right,
this
there
is
you
the
are.
easiest way to show off.
I'll come back in 1 second, but feel free.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
There
Yep,
we
you're
go.
good.
All right. That's this is basically some of the Zach Martin collection. I'll just scroll through it pretty quick here. Topps Chrome Rainbow. The start of the Prism Rainbow Select, and then different RPAs here. The 2014 National Treasures, and then non-rookie stuff. Well, these are rookies, but down here to the short prints, some 1/1 laundry tags, and that's it. That's it in a nutshell. It's easier to show that than to pull out 4 binders and 6 cases and all that stuff.
Wes, have you met Zach before?
I have not. He actually doesn't do a lot of appearances. Last year, he did one after the season, and I didn't get a chance to go. But he's not. I don't think he's super like most of the offensive linemen for the Cowboys. They kind of take pride in not talking a whole lot. So I'm sure after he retires, he'll be a regular on the circuit. So I'll just wait probably another year or two before he does that.
Very nice. Very nice. Favre going according. I appreciate the use of a proper hashtag. 4 minutes.
Excellent.
4. That's impressive. Super collection there. Absolutely, no doubt. That's part of the reason why I invited a lot of the folks that I did. You're getting a whole lens of the spectrum. Like I said, I could have just leaned in. It would have been very easy, being in Canada, it would have been very easy for me to reach out to 150 hockey guys. And Wes has hockey, and Brandon has hockey, and of course I do, and Eric allegedly does. But the point is that we could have just leaned on that. That could have been fun. But I feel like it's a little bit better since obviously it's a mixed audience of folks that do different things. I also collect football. I also collect baseball. I collect some of the other sports. Exactly. And Jason's got some hockey as well. Absolutely. So that's from one of the newer cups. I think is that the
I'm trying to think what
actually
year.
that's the fight strap, I think. That's the fight
Yeah,
strap.
it
one?
is the fight strap. Yep.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that one.
He didn't use that.
Well, it was there. It was on the uniform.
It was there,
The point
but
is it was there.
He was required to have it. It didn't have to be attached to anything.
It was attached. It was they could have taken it off the uniform and nothing of value was lost.
Correct.
So I want to ask Wes a question. So he showed his collection.
Mhm.
How do you feel? Because lately on the show we've been discussing this about Leaf, for example, using the same image over and over again. You just put up all those cards. I probably think I saw 5 different images on 100 cards.
Yeah. Panini was really bad about that year, 2014. And Topps and Panini actually used the same image on Finest and Prism.
What do you? So, what's your overall opinion on that? And do you have, if you could, wave a magic wand, how would you fix that?
I think I would go. I love the Select image because it's him in his full uniform, and it's one of the few cards that is besides National Treasures. If I had a magic wand, I would have not. I would not have any training camp photos from 2014, which is what the Topps Chrome is. I would never create a card from the Combine or anything like that. I think it's kind of cheap and weak, and you can capture a player in their uniform, I think, rather easily, and I think laziness gets in the way, and especially that's the case if it's a non-premier position. They don't care that defensive linemen and offensive linemen and safeties are in jogging shorts doing drills. But they will have a quarterback in a full uniform throwing a ball. So I don't like it, but also at the same time, there's not anything I can do about it. A sternly worded letter to nowhere doesn't do me any good. So, you can only collect what you can.
Right. But I find it to be, and maybe you do too, I find it to be frustrating. Oh yeah, classic. Yeah, because you definitely want that rookie in your collection. Yeah.
Which he hates, by the way.
It's stunning.
And has said as much.
It makes me not want to collect, or as a player collector who feels like I have to collect everything of that player.
Yeah,
I don't get the same joy out of it when the 10th card comes in and it's the exact same photo.
Yeah.
But they have a different border on it and a different serial number on it, but it's the same card. And I do not get the same enjoyment of collecting the same photo over and over and over and over again. And, you know, as a, you know, and Carlos made a great point earlier with the one-on-ones, it's hard to be this anymore. But as a completionist, it's like, crap, I've set this stupid goal and I have to, you know, and I got a stack of cards from Leaf this year from 2024, and it's all the same.
Yeah.
And they keep coming in a couple a week, and it's all the same. And I get no joy out of it.
And that sucks, you know, when it starts sucking the joy out of you, and not in a good way. You gotta kind of just Sally, you just kind of keep going, you know. That's why you keep buying them, because it's, you know, Reggie Lemelin. And you just, it sucks.
That's a tough
It
word
is.
to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is a little tough.
Yeah.
Lemon.
It's a tongue twister. But Jason, how do you feel about that? You know, collecting, you know, say if you had, you know, collecting Griffies, and, you know, he's got thousands of cards, so maybe it's not as big of a deal. But if you went through your collection and saw 50 of the same photo, how did where do you go with that?
Well, you know, I think at some point it creates a situation where maybe not on the high end cards, but on the low end cards, where you just don't buy them because you've already got the same image, you've already got the same card, and if it's a $2 or $3 base card, you just, you know, you don't even add it to your collection. Because the thing I find with Griffey, it's not trying to say I don't want every card. It's just saying if it doesn't interest me and it's an uninteresting photo, or if it's something that I've seen 100 times, like I don't get a thrill out of seeing a Griffey with his hat on backwards anymore. Like that's been done so many times. Yeah. And I'm like, if I see another photo of Griffey with his hat on backwards, it's just another photo. It doesn't make me want to have that card anymore because it's so overplayed. But, you know, you go back to vintage, you can think about how many times on Clemente they use the same photo on multiple years on multiple cards. Like it's like they just crop it differently. And it's just that Topps was terrible about doing this in vintage as well. There's a lot of years Clemente had the same photo for like 3 years in a row. You know, that's just terrible. You know, that's just terrible when the guy's got like, you know, 24 cards total and like 6 photos amongst 24 cards.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, I know they use sorry, real quick. I know they use Getty Images for a lot of stuff now, and you can find live action shots of specific players when you go to Getty Images. What's weird to me is that these players get their picture taken 10,000 times a year, and probably double that, half at least by the team. Why doesn't the team, like, here, Topps, Fanatics, Panini, here are some images of this player from the prior year, or doing something else, or whatever? Like, it seems like that would be beneficial. And dating back to pre-war time, they were taking photos all the time. So why not use them?
I understand why the vintage stuff did it. And as we all know the history, and maybe there's a few people in the chat that maybe are new to collecting and don't know this so much, but it wasn't about the cards back then. It was about the tobacco, it was about the gum, it was about, you know, whatever you were trying to sell, and the cards were a bonus. So they really didn't care if they used the same pictures or if they were cut straight. It didn't matter. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar business.
Mm-hmm.
They have to care now, and it seems that they don't. And it's frustrating, and it's a double-edged sword, because we keep collecting and we keep giving them money and keep making this a multi-billion-dollar business. Why should they change?
Mm-hmm.
So the only way to make them change is with our wallet, but then we don't get to collect.
I'm wondering at some point if players will advocate having final say on the images that's used for them. Because if I was thinking about the future of the hobby, and Fanatics is supposed to be working with players, you know, supposed to have been one of the big advantages of Fanatics to come in this space was they were going to be, you know, advocating and helping the players and doing more for the players. why wouldn't the agents advocate for them to get final sign off on images used on the cards? Because to me, if I was a player, I wouldn't want some goofy photo taken of me and put on a card.
That Travis Kelce was goofy to you, you think?
Yeah. But there's all kinds of goofy photos being used. I mean, do you think Wimbiana wanted a weird looking photo on his first Prism card? Some gray backdrop or something. Like you get one chance at rookie cards, and like, why wouldn't you want them to look cool? If I was a player, I wouldn't want them to use some like goofy spring training photo where I'm like falling over a rail or some guy throws something in my face. Like, why would I want that to be my first card?
So it's really about the player associations then, because the players themselves aren't going to take time out to do this, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the agents will, though. I think the agents would care to have their player look good on a card.
It's all about the Benjamins, man.
Carlos, your lips are moving, but no one can hear you.
Oh, that explains that I had it muted.
Awesome.
But anyway, so the thing is that don't worry, I'll take care of you in a minute. So anyway, the problem is that some of the players may want to do. Wemby had a chance to do an inscription of whatever he wanted, and he drew like the whole alien thing and whatever. That was him. It's not like they put a gun to his head and go, "Hey, can you draw a goofy cartoon around yourself and all that stuff?" It's like, no, he chose to do. How do you know Travis Kelce doesn't want the football as a hoagie for the rest of his career as his photo? He'll claim he doesn't want it, but the moment you give him agency, it turns out he just wants. We can use this photo every year. I'll just retake it every year with the hoagie.
Yeah,
every year we'll just redo it over and over and over again.
And
forever.
Oli Kolzig with eating hot dogs.
Maybe that's what he wants, Eric. Who are you to judge him?
Yeah, I know.
Well, back in the old days, I guess, cards were just cards. It was just a matter of having a picture and using it again. It didn't really matter. We consider it today art, as they didn't back then. It was just another way to make money and sell gum and what have you. So that's probably why with the older ones.
Yeah.
Well, I think with the current situation, the problem right now they've got is that a lot of these players, some of them don't care at all, doesn't matter to them, whatever. But some of them may be interested, but they're only interested to a point. They're not really concerned about the minutia. To them, to your point, maybe they care about unless the picture like legitimately makes them look goofy. But maybe if their personality type is such, they're like, oh yeah, that's kind of a fun picture. Yeah, use that. That's fine.
Yeah.
So for some of them, it might be like that might be exactly what they would be okay with if you offered them the option. They'd be like, yeah, go for it.
If you
I don't take myself that seriously.
Yeah.
If you zoom in on Zach Martin's 2014 Topps Chrome card, it looks like they let him out of the facility for the day, and he got to run drills with the team because of this weird, goofy grin on his face.
Green machine?
It was just all the unbridled joy, Wes. And I think deep down, as a collector, you just appreciate that he's got that unbridled joy for the game.
Unbridled.
Yep.
Now it goes without saying, we have surpassed the 1 hour, so now all bets are off, just so y'all know.
Yep.
So now I'm just going to randomly mute people, mostly Eric.
Okay. We're good.
Just fair warning. As you were. Go ahead, Brendan.
Oh, it's a regular show.
Yeah, but like we're at the 1 hour. By the way, Signatures for Soldiers, great cause, give generously, PayPal goods and services. It's in the scrolling ticker. Do that. Also hit the like button. We charge Eric for it because now it's now the game's on. Game on.
Now the
Let's
game
go.
is on. So look
Brandon,
at this crap. So now that we're doing our thing, look at this garbage. You know how much joy I get from this? None.
You buy all of it.
I have an addiction problem, and nobody will help me.
And you were an addiction counselor once upon a time.
I know.
That's
These are
why
facts.
he's not now.
Those
I was going to say you did a terrible job.
Those who can't teach, okay? It's a saying for a reason.
Those who can't teach buy.
You know,
That's right.
Okay, there's some more. You want some more? There's some more. And
He's not even in a Bruins uni.
No, he's not. That's the best part.
No.
Nope. There's no picture of
it's
him in
lovely.
Bruins uniform. Anyway,
No wonder it doesn't bring you any joy. So
No
weird.
joy. There's no joy in Mudville.
His entire player collection is basically anger. It's fueled West by rage.
Yeah.
All of
I
it.
just the enter button on his keyboard just must be just smashed. He's just like, I have to buy this one.
They're
Yeah.
all the same photo. They're all the same. It doesn't matter. It's
To be
all-
fair, they wanted to take a photo of a player that
fair.
mattered.
I warned you all. Now it's done. Now we passed
Okay.
it. Jason,
It's
we were
all
so
the
good. We were so well
same.
behaved, and it's over.
It's all the same.
And yet
This is
they show up
all these
15 to 20 a day.
pictures.
And yet
All
you got
the
a safe
same.
search. You're gonna keep hitting the button. You're gonna keep hitting buy it nows, offers. Wes, I don't know if you have you ever seen the one with the leprechaun?
No.
All the same.
Have you heard about this? Oh my god.
No, that's disgusting. Don't show that.
Oh, I'm gonna find it. I'm showing.
No, I won't buy it. It's like
It's the
what
greatest
Jason said
card
earlier.
of his
Don't
entire
buy it,
collection.
you know?
I might buy it if it's cool enough.
Oh, it's not cool. It's horror.
I'll
It's
find it.
horrific. And I won't buy it. I won't spend the money, number one, because it's like $60 for it. If it was $6, I'd buy it.
Okay.
I will not pay $60 for this crap.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody at Leaf is doing a lot of drugs, and you can and you can tell by their designs.
Interesting.
There's
Really
a
gone
lot of
downhill.
drug use at Leaf.
It's a lot of allegations there. The
Well,
opinions
you
expressed
know
by
it's true.
for Leaf are those of Eric only, and not of the Four Collectors YouTube channel, or anyone else on this panel. I just want to throw it out there. Brandon, the man is drowning himself all by himself. He doesn't even need any help at this point.
Stupid.
Yeah. Normally y'all say I'm the one doing it, but Eric's got the mic tonight.
Oh no, he's all.
I was just going to touch on the photo thing a little bit. I think it does boil down to laziness.
the greatest card in our hobby, Wes.
That's 60. That's 60. I'll buy that.
There's a
I'll buy
gigantic
that.
leprechaun that is chasing down Reggie Lemon.
Yep.
Chasing him down, trying to kill him, to bash him to death with a pot of gold. That's what's going on.
Same picture, by the way, of Reggie, but there's a giant leprechaun chasing him.
It's a terrible image of a leprechaun too. That's the best part.
Oh,
It's atrocious. It's terrible. It's horrible in every way.
Is it on eBay? Where is it?
It's on eBay, absolutely. You have to go looking for it's 2024 Leaf Metal Mythical Auto,
Okay.
and you got to make sure you spell lemon correctly. Don't use my pronunciation.
All right,
I
hold on.
absolutely positively will not pay for this.
Seems
I
like
tried
a
to
missed
make a best offer.
opportunity.
I tried to make a
being
best
off.
offer just for the record.
What'd you send us?
I think I said like $30 or $20 or whatever. I'm like, I'm not paying a lot for this. One of one or not. One of one be damned. I'm not paying that much.
This
Oh, it's $49.95. That's nothing.
It's been on. It's been on there
In
for
relative terms, I agree with you. For the gag, though, I was only willing to go so far. If you're willing to go further than I am, Wes, I will contribute towards this endeavor. I will subsidize you if you choose to go that route.
Hold on, I'm making an offer.
All right, make it happen.
utterly ridiculous.
This
Do it
is a card that belongs with Eric. If there is no other
No.
card in life that belongs with this man, this
No.
is the card that belongs with this man.
This is
I can't
this
think of
is
anyone else.
It's disgusting. Like, what's
Okay.
the point? What is
Offer sent.
the point?
Angering you. That's the point.
Well, it has. If the people at Leaf said the point is we want to anger Eric, this Reggie Lemlin collector, let's put out something completely ridiculous, then they have achieved the goal.
I think you're only upset because we don't know if there's a Loch Ness Monster variant.
Oh,
Or the Yeti.
I'm sure there is.
There's a Mike Richter Yeti. I
Yeah,
was just
well,
looking at it.
I'm just curious though, Wes. The part that I don't know is I don't know if every single player has every single variant. I know several of them have several, but I don't know if all of them, like, do they all have the leprechaun? Do they all have the Loch Ness Monster? I don't know.
Okay, so Don Cherry has a werewolf.
Fantastic.
Sense.
So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. The problem may be if he's a Russian werewolf, then he'll talk down on it.
Yeah.
That may
and
be
then,
problematic. Dutcher's not
we
good with that.
Did they spell
Richter.
Yeti with 2 T's or 1? Or did
it's
they spell
Bigfoot.
it with
I'm sorry.
abominable snowman? We would have been okay.
It's Bigfoot.
See, the problem is they would
that's
get
Yeti.
sued into oblivion. But if it was me, I would use the snowman from the claymation Christmas special.
Hold on,
Yeah.
I'm bidding on this one too.
That would be amazing. That'd be awesome.
All right. I gotta have Mike Richter with the Bigfoot.
I'm waiting for the unicorn, obviously.
Hmm.
No doubt. We've had a lot of mileage. So Brandon, now that we're in the more hour of more foolishness now, any thoughts from you? Player collecting wise, Leaf Leprechaun card wise, anything you like?
Well, first of all, Eric should be praising Leaf for actually putting Reggie on a card.
I
for
know,
him
like
to
he's
fill his
not even a real
mailbox,
player.
but
Like, for goodness sake,
No, I'd rather have nothing. I don't like what they're doing to me.
you're a Boston
the
Bruins fan. You already have
ungratefulness is
nothing.
there.
I don't like the person I'm becoming. I didn't like the person I
Just
was
now?
before. Now I really don't like me.
But no, I grabbed a few things to share
Sure,
here.
go for it. Sure, go for it.
Just I obviously there's way more, so I'm not gonna show all of it. But
Yeah, no worries. Go
this
ahead.
was the card
Oh, yeah.
I mentioned earlier. It's me and my kids with Victor. My wife actually took the photo because, as you can see, there's a bit of a firework behind us, and they cut the stadium lights out right when the staff member went to take the photo, and she couldn't get the flash to work on her camera. So my wife said, okay, fine, I'll take it. I have had Victor obviously sign this one. He inscribed it. That inscription is what he puts on all of his equipment. And then he hand numbered it there 101. It is a Topps custom that was not supposed to be printed, but they printed it anyway. This, for folks that like vintage, this is my second favorite Victor card. That is game used Jackie Robinson Day from Topps Tribute. And I love the way they do these with the patch and then the acetate over it, and then allows the player to sign it.
Nice.
And then for Taylor, he doesn't have a first Bowman, since everybody likes the first Bowmans. The first time he appeared in Bowman was 2013. And I do have the white ice, which is 101 of that. And then I have the 2015 Topps Chrome Superfractor for his rookie there. And then the 14 Bowman Chrome I work on, you can see him back there. And that's actually a game used Taylor bat that he gave me in that case. But I got bored with just trying to complete the rainbow. So I've actually been working on the jersey number rainbow. And obviously, as the serial numbers get higher, it's harder to find the specific serial number. I'm up through 99 right now, so I'm working my way backwards. I have almost all of the reds that exist, both auto and non-auto. So it's just something fun. The Superfractor, I have not found the autograph, but I did do a video on this. Y'all, actually, Bobby and Carlos and Eric was all in a video when this popped up that night on eBay, and I was able to get that secured. But
now, did you consider with the one Superfractor you got there? Did you consider the possibility that if you wanted to just expand your collection, you could crack it out and resubmit it to Beckett as a PMG, and just you could have a PMG Superfractor?
That's true.
I think that could be a thing.
I haven't considered that, but I did consider, since I don't know if I'll ever actually find.
You need a red pen.
Jason mentioned earlier about pulling that Griffey, and like that's something as a player collector that I don't know if it gets discussed enough. But when you're trying to like do a rainbow, or if you got cards that you're trying to knock off, and if they're low serial numbered, sometimes you don't know if you're ever going to find them, because my wife has bought me 2014 Bowman boxes to try to pull the Superfractor Auto, just because it could still be in a box, or being that he's a lesser, popular player and not, high value, it might have gotten thrown away, or stuffed in a box in a closet or something. So that's something as a player collector that's like always got to be in the back of your mind, especially in the new stuff, because you don't know with these serial number things if they're just never going to actually be pulled. And so I thought about just cracking it and having him sign it for me, and then at least I can say I have the Superfractor Auto. But I don't know. That's a decision to be determined.
TBD.
You mentioned that there's like for the longest period of time, Evan Longoria's Superfractor Bowman Chrome Auto was never found. And I'm not sure it's ever been found. But when he was super hot and was the best prospect in the game, everyone was looking for that and busting those boxes trying to find it. And I'm not sure it's ever appeared. So wonder if that card ever showed up, it would be kind of a hobby. What is it? A mythical creature that would show up again.
Right. Yeah. But back to the mythical creature thing, and to the photo thing. I think, and we haven't talked much basketball. I know not a lot of people talk basketball much anymore. When I was like opening the prisms and stuff like that, being that we all were around in the 90s, do you notice how boring basketball
How
cards
dare
are
you
today?
assume our oldness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Come
was.
on, we've been talking
Bobby's
about Griffey
Bobby's
and
a spring
everything.
chicken 20-year-old. He's just a prodigy.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want?
But
I was
no,
born in 2005.
seriously, you look at the basketball cards today,
You
and
look
it's
like
like
shit.
they're like either just throwing a pass or dribbling or whatever. At least back in the 90s, you had guys like, posting up or dunking or doing a hook shot or something, and now it's just like this stupid pose where they're just bouncing a basketball. And it's like, they're the most boring cards. And that's just my opinion. No offense to anybody that likes ultra modern basketball, but they're just.
So you're saying that would you be excited for so Topps gets back in the game with basketball upcoming here. So Topps gets back in and they have the super short print photo variations. So you get a photo variation of LeBron and other folks trying to rig their team to get better players. So they're sitting around phones in a conference call, SSP, trying to get another good player to come play for them.
I mean, give us something different. Give us something different. They're just boring now. Like there's no action at all. But the basketball cards are boring.
I agree. It's funny. It seems to be the best photography in most sets, especially football, are the lower end sets like Luminance, Score, etc. The high end sets like Prism it's trash.
Well, I think it's interesting though. Like you're 100% right, but I'll throw this out. I think it's been interesting kind of seeing, and Jason can kind of attest to this, and so can a lot of other folks. Everybody always talks about the photos, and I agree. It would be nice to have nicer photos. It would just be more interesting to have where you try some stuff. Give it a try and see what happens. But in baseball, everybody always talks about that. Stadium Club has traditionally been very good for having kind of cool photos, interesting angles, like whatever. But do people still do people sit there clamoring, oh my God, I got to open up cases of Stadium Club? No, not really.
Yeah.
They got to have some fancy pulls in there. But do they have great photography? Absolutely. New players, old players, they find some really cool shots. Maybe they pull a shot out of the archive. But imagine in hockey, we had Stadium Club. It would be the exact same picture of Reggie Lebanon. The only one that exists in the entire history of hockey, just one. It would just be the same image over and over again at Stadium Club, just like everybody else. Leaf has access to the same photo that we all do. But for everybody else, you could have camera angles. You could have weird. And again, for Eric's purposes, you could have Reggie with the same photo as always. You could have an Olaf Kolzig Legends card where he's eating a hot dog, but at a hot dog stand just for Eric to update it to the modern day. Just reimagine it. Completely different.
Well, isn't the Phil Kessel hot dog card super popular?
He has one too.
Yeah. Like that kind of stuff is fun once in a while. It shouldn't be the card for a player.
It's cheap.
If you're clearly doing it tongue in cheek, I think it's fine. If you're clearly doing it tongue in cheek, you're just messing around. Hey, just for a change of pace, not the standard photo you're used to. Here's one we're being a little wacky.
Right.
Whatever.
Like Brett Favre on a tractor.
Amazing. Sensational. Yeah. Like Grail. Moi. Chef's kiss. Fantastic.
Yeah, but you know how they do. If they find something that works, so they'll do it to death. I mean, I used the Griffey, backwards hat photo. It's like, okay, now we've seen it 40 times.
Right.
Like the Kurt Bevilacqua gun blowing card in the 70s was cool. Like the bubble gum blowing champion card. And they never did that one again, actually. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of a unique card, but they can do it. It's just, if they find something that works, they'll just do it until you get sick of it and they'll do something else. That's the one thing about the modern stuff that I don't really like is they'll take a set or an idea and they'll just run it into the ground until people get sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think we were actually talking about this on the Discord. It came up and Brandon brought it up as well. And I want to say, so I'm assuming it was like was it like Metal Universe or one of those ones that they did? So they had the one where they did the Jordan kind of jump man from that Nike one. I want to say it was Metal Universe. So I'll see if I can find the image. But basically, if you guys are familiar with the 85 Nike card, promo. Like the large one, the promo, where he's basically doing the Jumpman pose, like the fully extended Jumpman pose. Yeah. So they're putting it in that set of, I want to say, Metal Universe. So technically it's unlicensed, but it's an iconic image that people know about. And then you're able to use it then for PMGs. Yep. So the thought is like, oh, well, but you're using this image. Yeah, but it's not used every day. This image is like an iconic image for him. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure for some of the Jordan collectors, like, listen, licensed or not, that's an iconic OG image that they're going to be into. You give them a PMG of that, it might be a little fancy for some of those basketball guys.
Yeah,
True.
Yep.
So you can do it as long as you don't run it into the ground and use it in every single product 557 times, and we're seeing the same image over and over again. I think it's fine. But if you save an iconic image that is associated with something like that, I think there's some value to that. You can do it.
I heard PMG, so I'm ready.
Listen, we're going to submit to. We're going to do a collective submission to Beckett. We're going to get all the red PMGs. It's going to be awesome. Always, Brandon's going for the green.
Brandon's going for the
gusto.
greens.
Got to get the greens.
All right.
So, Jason, actually, I want to ask you this question because I think it might be valid. So, by the way, now we're well into off the rails territory. It's going to be so much fun now. So, let me ask this question though. We've had our conversations about some of the '90s stuff, the PMGs and those pieces. So, are you familiar with the fake PMG thing that Beckett graded that eBay did their authentication with, but Beckett actually labeled as a red PMG, which kind of led to everything else, all the other dominoes falling?
Yeah, I mean, so back in the day on the blowout forums and fake PMGs, and there was a lot of threads dealing with fake 90s cards. So, and in fact, I bought not a fake, but a backdoored Griffey card recently as well. So this is something that happens quite a bit in the 90s, unfortunately, with certain sets. But yes, that fake PMG was a well-known issue, and something that had occurred. So it was odd to me that a company like Beckett wouldn't have been able to at least Google the images to make sure that the card was right. But
Eric, I am very disappointed that your Googling skills failed us again.
We don't have Google at Beckett. We can't afford it. Everything is going to the owner's, release from prison fund. So
Eric, we're not. Our legal fund is not like on the Four Collectors channel. Our legal fund doesn't cover this. So just so you know, you're on your own.
So Beckett's still Beckett's still using Ask Jeeves. They're still on that technology.
Yes. They put in the AOL disc, and then go to Ask Jeeves. Yes.
That would actually be. I'd honestly be more impressed by that. Wes, that would actually be an improvement. Listen, I want to see a video of Beckett HQ where they're using AOL from 1995. I would actually be very impressed. I feel like that would be an advancement for them.
It would be.
If Beckett ever has a contest to like tour the facility, I'm signing up as Eric, and he's going to get a free trip.
It's like I need complete access.
Yeah,
complete access. I need the keys to all the doors so I can see what's going on in there. We're gonna find out.
There's a video from 1968 that kind of goes through the Tops plant.
Really?
Yeah, if you can look, I'll try to send you the link.
There's
a weird story about a kid, and he goes in the Tops plant and does all this fun, weird stuff, and kind of.
Oh, that was the video. That was the video they produced to show off the facility from that era. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if it was showing off. It was more about a kid sneaking in. And he fell asleep, and all these other things happened. So, kind of cool.
They wrote a whole script for it and everything. They came up with a nice little promotional package for it. I think I've seen the one you're talking about.
Yep. There's a video out there of an OPG factory as well, showing them cutting OPG cards. It's pretty interesting to see. There is different technology between what Tops was doing and what OPG was doing. But yeah, they showed
a video about them cutting the cards. Oh, in the 90s, maybe. Yes, yeah.
No, I think it was either late 70s, but there is a video showing OPG cards being cut in the 70s.
Really,
yeah,
I've never.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Well,
there was one factory. There was like one factory doing like OPG stuff.
This is 1970. They're cutting the OPG hockey cards in 70, 71. That's cool. The slitter. That's wild. They were cutting strips. So
that's
strips
really a rude name to call that lady.
Yes, the slitter.
I just thought they let goats bite the cards off the page.
That's how you knew they were legit. Because if the goat's teeth wore down,
that
had fuzz on the edge.
Yeah, that's why they're all fuzzy and stuff. I thought the goats were just.
I thought Canadian scissors were just rough. That's what I thought.
Yeah, pink.
Well, you have to make them yourself, Wes. You have to forge them. So unfortunately, if you didn't do a very good job, they're not very sharp. It is a bit of a problem.
In all seriousness, with Beckett though, from everything we've heard, is that majority of their experienced graders have been poached by other companies. So it doesn't surprise me they would miss something big. I think Beckett is in that almost a death spiral where they've lost a lot of talent, and I don't know if they can grade their way out of it because they're going to make mistakes like this, and it's just going to keep causing them to go further down.
All right, now I know why all the other companies suck, because Beckett employees have gone in and infiltrated. Now I know why the other companies suck. Okay.
There was a rumor late last year, that they were down to one grader at one point.
And Eric was really tired.
Yeah.
They had the poor bastard working 24/7. He was just like 6, 5, 10.
Yeah.
Sight
All the
unseen.
dice.
It's
Yeah.
printed on both sides.
Yeah, all the
9.5,
dice.
whatever. It's fine.
One piece, 10, 10, 10.
Yeah,
I
that's
heard
right.
there's a company that doesn't even need graders.
SGC.
No.
They got robots. They got robots and
to
bots.
do it.
Yeah.
And I got a question for everybody in the panel, the chat, everything. I'm just trying to find out how much longer do I have to wait until I will just be rich. I've had this sitting here on my desk,
Will Greer.
just in arm's reach, waiting to cash in. I was told this is what it was all about. I pulled this, like Jason pulled a Griffey refractor. I pulled the color match optic rated rookie Will Greer, and I'm just, how much longer do I have to wait?
There's a big redemption. If you go to this store, it's in Atlanta. And
Yes. I heard you get like 10x traded on Will Greer.
Yeah.
from
Mhm.
the owner
I've
himself.
been waiting. I keep
Just
it right
saying.
here in this
No, no.
coffee mug in arm's reach, just
Okay.
waiting.
You just slide it across the table. They're like, name your price.
Mm.
Name your price. See, since Bobby showed off that image, it reminded me. See, Bobby, I never got a chance to use this on the Friday, so I'll quickly show it here, and maybe I'll share it on Friday anyway. I'll share it again. But Hobby News Daily actually had some Getty images, and Eric will appreciate this. They had a bunch of images from a card show in 1980.
Wow.
Mm.
Am I there?
Look at all those.
Yeah,
versions.
absolutely. Yeah, you're 100% there,
Wow.
like no, without question. So
Am I in the
I will
background?
actually, I'll share a link with the with John and the Four Collectors guys if they want to share the article and everything. But it goes to Getty's images, and you can
It's
actually
in
see.
an
So
old
this is a card show.
gymnasium. Wow.
Yeah,
You could
this is
colorize
ye olde.
this. You could colorize this, and it would look exactly the same. We would think it was taken
Yeah,
today.
true enough.
And that's that. So Wes, that's the part I thought was interesting because if you act, but this is from 19. So I'll read the caption just so that we can have it as well. So the caption actually says, "Vendor tables fills trading cards, memorabilia, and a baseball card sports memorabilia show at the Power Memorial Academy Gymnasium in New York, May 28th, 1980."
You know, Mr. Mint's in there somewhere.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's gotta be
but if you can
good.
see, you got the
Briefcase and money.
Chicago White Sox like pajama shirt top as well. That's like pure late 1970s, early 1980s. There, you've got
Everything in there is trimmed.
And that photo is $575.
You noticed that too, Eric. Now
it's
we
from
know
Getty's
why
images,
Reggie.
Eric. You'd be buying the rights to the photo. This is
Yeah,
the Getty's
well,
images.
They can suck it.
They
Now
will
you
cost
see why Reggie
$5.
has one picture.
Exactly, Eric.
Yeah.
When Upper Deck and everybody and Leaf and everybody else goes to Getty's images, they have to pay for that. So they bought one photo for Reggie. That's it for the rest of the
That's
time.
it. Cheap
They're
How
not
many
bastard.
buying a
photos-
second one?
How many photos of Reggie Lemelin are on Getty Images?
That's a fair question.
How does
There you go,
Getty
1980 all
Images
screw
own
downs? Yes,
everything
yes.
is the question.
Yes. 1980 all screw downs. By the way, if you check it out though, I'll pull up a second image here. I think you guys will enjoy this one. So this one actually has a better shot. Again, think 1980, and then think like, card pages are not what you're thinking of right now. So when you're thinking of card pages, they're not like the card pages of today. So if you look at the 1980 one, so here's another angle of the same show. You still got something resembling it, but you've got like your stuff in the showcases, you got your stacks. So at that point, Ken Griffey, you've got Ricky Henderson, rookie is ultra modern.
Mm-hmm.
How wild.
So, we haven't even gotten to Fleer yet. We're not back with Fleer yet. We're not in 1981.
If you search for Lemelin on Getty Images, it's just a bunch of pictures of macaroons.
Really?
Seems legit.
That's
It
it.
makes sense.
I've been trying to tell Eric this whole time that his entire childhood is a lie. Like this guy never existed. Like, why do you think they only got one photo? They were only able to commission one photograph with ChatGPT, and that was it. You get what you get.
Wes,
Back in
why
those
don't you
days,
go-
they
Wes,
would
why don't you
use
go
these.
find something else to do?
So they would use these kind of price guides back then.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I actually collect old price guides. There's
Canadian card news. Wow.
baseball and hockey. This one's actually from the United States, but this is 1965, I think it is. And then they put all the pictures on the back. The things we used to go through, we had to go through
Yeah.
back then.
That's right. That's right.
You and baubles.
So Theo here had a question. Sorry, let me go backwards. Here, I saw one question actually. I think it was related to if we prefer O-Pee-Chee cards or American cards. I'll see if I can find it.
Oh, Peachy,
In terms of
course.
Canadians.
My first pack I opened was
we go. Got
1969-70.
Yeah, so this one here. Do vintage collectors in Canada prefer O-Pee-Chee cards or US cards? O-Pee-Chee. If we're talking hockey, O-Pee-Chee.
Well, even
If
baseball.
we're talking baseball, it depends on if you
Hockey
like
wise.
getting off the beaten path. For baseball, there is some really interesting stuff because for some of those years, the checklist is different. Obviously, it's got more Canadian content, but for some of the years, like the checklist, like 65 O-Pee-Chee baseball is a truncated checklist. It's not the full,
It's
it's not the full
283
set.
cards, I think.
I want to say it's under 200. It's got to be somewhere in that vicinity. I forget,
No,
but it's a
three
small
sheets.
checklist.
Yeah.
So regardless, though, it's a different checklist. Like it's not exact, so it's not going to match. So you're going to get some cards in the Topps version you can't find in the O-Pee-Chee, and then you've got some years where obviously you've got the Canadian teams. As soon as you get the Canadian teams, the Blue Jays and the Expos in there, there's more of them in that set than in the Topps version. So it does make it a little bit different.
I did a statistical analysis on the grading differences between PSA, O-Pee-Chee, and Topps cards in baseball, and it's pretty consistent. It's about 10-1. If you look at the pop counts, there's about 10 times more Topps than there are O-Pee-Chee. I'm just wondering if that relates to print runs as well, because
Sure.
I got between 10 and 14 year to year. So I'm thinking that, it's anywhere between 10 and 15 times more Topps cards were printed on a yearly basis in O-Pee-Chee, which just makes them a lot more rare, just in total circulation.
Yeah, just in population alone, we're 10% of your population even back then. And if you can approximate how many card sets they made, and it varied every year too. It kind of went up and down, depends on their last year and how well it was selling. If it was a bad year, they would make less, and then it would make for a good year next year, and then make more the next after that. So,
Why
Go
did they
ahead.
make O-Pee-Chee? That's I would imagine that it would have been cheaper just to send Topps cards to Canada.
are you talking hockey or baseball or what? happened?
Either like what
Because
was
they had to have French on them. It's a freaking law of the stupid country.
Well, to be
Wow.
honest with you,
okay?
hockey cards were not even released in the United States until 1968. Well, actually 66, 67, they did the Topps test issue, but otherwise it was all O-Pee-Chee. Remember, O-Pee-Chee's been around since 1911. They've
Right.
been doing cards in the 30s and 20s. And Topps just owned the license, but O-Pee-Chee produced all the cards. The one thing that Topps did own with the license is they owned the creative. So you had Woody Gelman, who would create the cards. He would print them, actually, which is really funny part. He would print extra ones before the artwork was sent up to Peachy up here. And then, so Woody Gelman, his stepdad was Sam Rosen. Sam Rosen won Card Collector Company, and he was selling full sets of cards back then, 52 Topps, 54 hockey, full set. So that's the only time Americans ever got hockey cards, so to speak.
Wow.
And
I
yeah,
had no
so
idea.
there's a
Thank
nice
you.
little story there.
Bobby, with a couple of the guides there that you pulled up, Chris Missouri here was asking, do any of them have any pricing for Manos? In a couple of the ones that you have?
Yeah,
there?
of course, the baseball one would. I don't know if it would be. Okay, letters,
Since the question was brought up.
editorial and opinions. That would be very interesting.
I think some of the if you're going to go down that rabbit hole, I actually think some of the early like collectors newsletters and stuff like that, some of the letters to the editor where they wrote out like full letters writing to each other, is kind of interesting to see what they were thinking about at that time. Obviously, everything was going to ruin the hobby, as it always has, from the dawn of time.
Wow,
It's like,
OPC
what? These
baseball
Gaudy
check.
cards in the 1930s, they're going to overproduce them and ruin the hobby.
So the first, it has O-Pee-Chee baseball cards. And Mantle wasn't in 65 the first year. Funny, he's on the box, but he's not in the set.
Right.
So I get into.
They're doing that today. Juan Soto's on the box. He's not in Series 2.
Oh, this goes. So they're just.
He's
doing
got a
the current
variant.
year.
Come on, man. He's got a variant in there. He's got
They're
a
just
couple
doing
inserts.
the current year of '84 here. Sorry, guys. There's no prices
new,
on
84.
that. The 85 one, this one, we'll have a quick look. See if there is. It's football. Is it just football? And it looks like it's just football and hockey. Isn't that unusual? Yeah, it's just football and hockey. Wayne Gretzky rookie, $15.
Man, I wish.
65. So Dom, 65 was the first year of OPG baseball for like replicating the Topps design.
Yeah. Red bag. Here we go. 52, 50 team cards, 55. And you have to understand back then, a card was a card. There was no rookie cards really at that time too. 64, 63. Oh, it seems like
simpler time. Somewhere off in the distance, Victor's like, no.
Please.
I can't wait till it's my turn to ruin the hobby. I can't wait for that day.
Wes, I think it's time. I think your time is coming. I
Is
think
it
your
coming?
time is nigh. I think your time.
Listen, you're getting real close. You're now a part of this show.
Yeah.
Again, Eric, this is
down
literally
south.
not my channel. This is a For Collectors channel. Like, again, all legal fees are going to be covered by yourself personally. And you're in a Canadian protectorate state, so America denounces you. Canada has nothing to do with you. You're on your own.
That's fine with me.
As a kid, I read the baseball card magazine, and I remember one of the articles that stuck with me was a dealer talking about autographs and saying it was very common for someone to come in and ask for a player that was obscure, and they would go in the back and just fake the autograph and give it to the customer and sell it to him.
That's
And that was a mainstream article written in a hobby magazine about how it was very common to forge autographs at dealers or at hobby shops. And you wonder why we have PSA and why we had grading. I mean, the hobby definitely needed some cleaning up in the 80s for sure.
Absolutely.
So here we do. We do have 52 tops here in this
Okay.
one guide. I think it's from 1965.
Okay.
407 cards in a full color. Single cards 1 through 80 each is 20 cents.
Nice.
101 through 250 is 20 cents each. Cards for 251 to 310 are 40 cents. 311 to 407, very rare, $2 each.
Ooh.
And,
I'll take it.
and rare cards. So the rare cards are 91, 123, 189, 200, 215. What's Mantle's card number?
311. For 52 tops is 311.
It's not even here.
Ooh.
He's not even listed. Well,
Yeah, he was
311
still
through
there. In
it's
$65, he
$2
was
for
still an active
Mantle.
player.
It's $2 for a Mantle in here.
In 65, he was still an active player. I don't think they would have thought it up specifically.
No.
So that's kind of the thing is that
But
if you're
the
talking
rare
about that era,
cards-
that's what makes it interesting. It's like, yeah, it's a high number. That obviously Mano was a great player and people were interested, but that's different.
The full set is only a complete set of 407 is $195.
Sold.
Wow. I'll take two.
I'll take 10. 100.
You hoarder. You resell flipper.
Yeah. How
And
dare you?
This is one of my books from 2006 that I wrote. It's the vintage hockey. So it really went through the whole chronologically through the 10s, 20s, and 30s. So I put pictures of all the wrappers, display boxes, advertisements. They're Rick Ross.
That's
We
cool.
have all that stuff here. 51 Parkhurst. We get into the Sheriff coins and the different wrappers. So this was sort of the Playboy because there was very little writing and lots of big pictures. That's what we refer to this one as. So anyways, that's kind of what I did and do. The cards are easy. The food issue is
So
the tough
for the
part.
newer audience who aren't as familiar with us, Bobby has written 3 books. So there's been
2003, 2006, and 2015. Now I have an app. That's 1910 and 1990. All hockey cards. All food issue, all merchandise, and CFL.
So you mentioned food issues.
Yep.
When is Starbucks going to start making hockey cards in Canada? To compete with the Tim Hortons.
That'd be hilarious. Can I use my
Starbucks
star
isn't-
points for that?
Starbucks
That'd be
isn't allowed in
amazing.
Canada. Tim Hortons.
Jason, I'll
They-
answer this as nicely as I can. I do the books to 1990. After 90, everything disappears to me. So I don't really know Starbucks, and I don't know their cards.
They would have the
I know
glittery
Starbucks.
stuff
That would be
down.
Jason, that would be hysterical because they'd be $20 a pack.
Yeah.
And it would be like they'd insert pack inserted autographs of Hal Gill.
Just put
It
them
would
in
be
Stanley
overstocked.
Cup.
it would be Overstock SP Signature Legends. Upper Deck would like funnel it over, and that would be in the Starbucks packs. That's what would happen.
I know the Tim Hortons cards, but see,
Starbucks doesn't have anything.
when you when you do the whole history, you don't have enough room to go past 1990.
Right.
No,
I wouldn't
it
live
explodes
long
at that
enough
point.
to
It
get
gets
past
absurd.
1990. Huh?
Actually, I pulled this out. I knew I had one. Pulled it out the other day when you sent the article that you had done. And I know they're not as popular as they used to be. And I think, if I remember right, in 2020, they switched them up. But I wanted to share this because this was a food issue where in 2019, they did have the Topps baseball. It wasn't the full set, but they did do a lot of the Topps baseball in 2019, and Utz potato chips, the little small bags. 2020, they had cards in there, but they didn't look like the 2020 Topps cards. I don't remember if they've done them since 2020. I have not seen them, but I wanted to share that with you because they do still slip them in here and there, I guess.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Not,
But it's
not
become,
like
it's
they
become
used
the
to be.
exception. It's become the exception rather than the rule. By the way, I want to read these two comments back to back out of context. Yes, we're going to take our shirts off soon. Paul says Eric first, and don't be weird about it. Eric, don't be weird about it.
Oh,
This
I'm
is
getting
after.
weird.
This is after dark.
Oh.
Just saying.
Oh, it's
Just
gonna
saying.
get weird.
Oh, it's already getting there. We're getting there.
Oh yeah.
By the way, speaking of, I found one of the other Getty images from that. Again, I'll give the guys, if they want to throw it into the description, I'll give it to them. But I'll share it again on Friday, and I'll definitely put it in the description. But I'll share it with those guys if they want to share this article. Again, this is Sports Collectors Daily, so they got this article. But I like this one because this is another image from the same show. But if you look there, you got a showcase there. You can actually see some of the cards. And by the way, loose sight card holders $1.50. Eric, your time is nigh.
Wow.
We got loose sight card holders there. We're ready to go, buddy. We're good to go.
Look
And
at
then
this.
you can actually make out if you
You
look at
know-
the
There's
showcase.
a
you can
trade
actually make-
happening there.
I love the loose sight. Still use
It
it.
looks
to
like
this day.
Clemente and is that Koufax towards
Yeah,
the
so
middle
here's
top?
Yogi. I can see 55 Yogi. Here's a 56 Clemente. Here's a 57 Topps card. I can make that out.
Is that
I think this
Nolan
is a
Ryan on
52.
the bottom?
It might
And
be.
Jerry
I'm trying
Koosman right there?
Yeah, I think right here,
Yeah.
yes. Right here,
Yeah.
yes. And then you've also got a Yogi Berra 54 Topps, 55
There's another
Bowman, I
Nolan
think,
right
Yogi.
there.
Here's another Yogi right here. Again, it is in New York, so this card show is in New York, so it makes a lot of sense to have a lot of Yankees. I think that's a 52 Bowman Yogi. Like, you can stare at these pictures and find some cards. Like, if you just want to go looking to see what you can make out on the pictures, especially when you can see the showcase a little bit closer, you can actually see. Again, 1980. Year
I would
old.
go
You
in.
know, you.
Say I'm a repacker, and I'm just here to buy out showcases.
I just want all your 52 Bowmans.
I do
I'll
have
take the whole showcase for $150.
I do have a 1976 video of a O-Pee-Chee plant where they're making the gum, packaging the cards, showing the displays, and cut sheets on the skids, what have you. So it's only about 3 minutes long, but it's probably the only video that we have. I have another one from 1980. I got from Gary Careen. He's the past owner, and it goes through the whole history of O-Pee-Chee. And it shows them at the 93, they came up to the Fan Fest, and O-Pee-Chee had a display of all their old cards, all their old wax packs and display box. Oh, it was crazy. So I do have that on tape, which is nice too.
I think
It's all history, right? So I'm very much into the history part.
I think it's interesting since the allegations already been made that unfortunately we're not all spring chickens, alas. The upside of that though is that it does give us the ability to be able to pull back and go now, not all the way to 1980. Only Brandon and Eric are that old, but for the rest of us,
I'm not even, well, I was born in 80.
Listen, I'm just saying, whatever happened in the
1880.
Confederacy, we'll talk about it later. But the point is that that like if you look at that card show, other than the stuff that clearly gives away the era that it is, like you look at the peoples, you look at the clothes, you look at the if they wear jerseys or whatever, it gives away the era it is. There's a lot of elements to it that didn't change that much by the early 90s. So I can remember I can speak to the early 90s card shows. I remember those vividly, very well. And I can think about those and how they were set up, the smaller shows, the bigger shows and everything. But for a long time, stuff was kind of the same. It kind of stayed same for a very long time. Products would change. Obviously, you'd swap out different things over time. And then one day you woke up and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is different now. It's not the same. Nope.
Used to be in a lot of hotels, and what would happen? They'd have sports cards and postcard shows combining. You go in and you look at all the hockey cards and all the other postcard guys. Guys are sitting down going through each one. You couldn't even get to their booth because it wasn't even the booth. It was just a table. It was almost like just like that. They paid $5 to rent it for the day, probably back then.
Yeah. I was
saw
big into the
somebody-
mall shows. The mall shows was a big thing when I remember from my time. I remember the mall shows a lot. There were a ton of those.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Breakout Cards went to a show in the UK, and it looked exactly like you described, Bobby. It was a bunch of old dudes sitting around like looking at postcard size cards.
Yeah. And
some of them were sports, and some of it was birds and things like that. But
they're proficient at it over there in England because they had created the Cardophilium Society, card collecting in 1927.
Oh wow!
So they're way ahead of us. Way ahead of us. It took Burdick to the 50s, 60s till start to get some recognition.
My memory of mall shows was the terrible lighting, and never being able to see a card, and coming home and finding like it had like 5 creases in it after I
It
looked
didn't
at
matter at that point, right?
You just had it.
I mean, I don't know. Like when I was doing I was collecting probably 86 to 94 pretty heavily in high school and first in college. And, it hurt in the 90s, in 92, 93 to buy a card and find, that was near mint and come home and find a crease in it. That was pretty disappointing.
So I'm opening a pack in 1969, 1970. And we don't care about centering. We don't care about rookies. We don't care about using them for Nazis and dropsies.
It's arguable that most people don't
just
care about 1969-70.
I think you're a jerk, and I hate you.
I just thought I would bring that up. Please go on. Please
And
continue.
then I got into comics. And it was Richie Rich. Don't worry. Crazy. Yeah. All those Marvel. Marvel was on TV. So why would you get Marvel? Because it would be worth more today, right? You wouldn't have 750 Rich comic books over here. Anyways.
Not a big cry out for Richie Rich right now. I don't hear all the kids going, "Oh man, I wish I had some vintage Richie Rich."
Gee willikers.
Speaking of comics, I still have this sitting here, and I know the audience is
really amazed,
especially with what has happened recently. But 54 amazing Willie Mays famous funnies with a beautiful autograph on it. So
And does
really
put it
pretty.
on eBay, man.
And does Willie
no.
Mays? Do you think he knew that that's not a W? That's the number 4.
Wow, Eric, the man is barely been in the grave, and you're already like, so Willie, do you know how to spell your own name? Like, so you can send your hate to Sanderson to Orr on Instagram.
Just asking. I look at that and it's like that's not even a W.
I think
You're
he
barely
started writing his
literate. You're in no
signature
position
upside
to
down.
question anyone.
That is the number 4.
Listen,
Yeah, I
I'm just
just
saying
picked
you're
up
in no
the,
position to question someone.
Go ask his son right now.
That's
They can
right.
write it upside down. That's why they went to Scribbles, because they can write it upside down when you want it on a program cover. And you read it one way or the other. It doesn't matter. It's a scribble, right?
Yeah, I
think
just picked up
that's-
the Jackie Robinson from that same time period comic book just yesterday.
Did
Yeah,
you say
when I
that you
was-
flipped through it, Brandon, and it doesn't have anything to do with Willie Mays inside of it? Do I recall that? Did you flip
This
through the
heck
book?
no,
Yeah,
It's
I
in
bought
the
it.
slab. I don't think he's cracking that one open.
Crack it
Yeah,
open.
The only
No,
way he's cracking
I-
it open is if he can get it recertified as a PMG. That's the only way.
Yeah. No, I
You
bought
get-
that. I actually have a couple papers that came with it with the provenance and everything. It was actually this is actually a promotional copy that was given to a sports writer. And I was hunting for a Mays Auto, and he's got so many fake ones out there. I didn't want it just on a card. And I came across this and I started looking into it. And then I noticed that it has the full letter certification from PSA. But interesting enough, it was when James Spence was the head authenticator at PSA. So it's got Spence's name on the PSA document. And then obviously it's in the CVCS, which is, Eric's company. the Beckett authentication as well. So
Oh,
it's kind of in a weird way triple authenticated, if you want to say so. So
Well, we don't want to
That
say so.
sounds like
You
a
want to
selling
say
feature.
so.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
no, that piece is not for sale at all. Never
but it would
never
be.
selling that one.
You
What,
mentioned
Reggie
like
Lemelin?
something that's weirdly authenticated. So I have a Clemente auto here. This is it's a cut auto. It was originally in a PSA holder, and Leaf offered a service where they would make a custom card for it if it was in a PSA DNA or a James Spence holder. And so, but the way they worked it was they would have it re-authenticated by Beckett. So this has been authenticated by James Spence, PSA DNA, and now in a Beckett holder. So this has been authenticated like multiple times, but it was created in this Leaf made a little card for it, and I sent it into Leaf. So I talked to Brian Gray about it. You know, when they created this program where you could send and cut autos, and they would make a card for it. And I don't think they do that anymore. But he told me he was going to make this beautiful card for it. It looked great, and then it's the most lazy looking card ever. I mean, I could have paid some folks on blowout forums to make a custom card for it. It would have been beautiful. And I sent it to Leaf because I thought maybe they would do a good job, and it did not come back in a way I was expecting. And it took about 18 months to get it back.
So Eric over there is like sitting there. He's like the meme vindication. And then he'll buy more. He'll buy all your Reggie Lemonades on eBay.
I don't know what I'm more disappointed in with you at the moment. The fact that you believe Brian Gray and went to Leaf.
I'm going to remind you again, for collectors, it's not going to cover your legal fees if BG wants to go after
or you put that in a Beckett holder.
Well, I didn't know it was going to go in a Beckett holder. That's the part that surprised me. I thought it was going to come back in a Leaf, just in a Leaf holder or in a Leaf card, and then I could put it back in a PSA DNA holder. And he sent it to Beckett without telling me.
He went next door. So the Leaf factory is probably at one point was like 8 miles from Beckett. Maybe
Right.
Yeah, they were actually pretty close.
Story,
Yeah,
right?
they were in the same.
Saturday
They were in the
mornings.
same vicinity. Yeah.
We know the story about Leaf employees going to Beckett on Saturday mornings, unlocking the thing and grading their own cards pristine black label, right?
Yeah.
We've heard that for sure. Yeah.
BG, you can send all your hate to send us into or on Instagram. You can go directly to the source on that one. Just throwing that in there. Wes, I gotta cover our collective legal basis here. I don't condone this.
No, I will. You don't have to condone. No, Leaf employees went to Beckett Saturday mornings, unlocked the door, sat down, put their cards in plastic, and graded them pristine. That's what happened.
Look, thankfully for you, Tom
Allegedly.
here Tom here is doing yeoman's work here to save your ass. Allegedly. Damn right. Thank you, Tom.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Jason, you see, these are the problems. This is why I mute Eric all the time. Imagine if we just let him talk. That would be terrible.
Well, I mean, I don't think BG cares as much anymore. So I don't think
I don't think BG cares at all at this stage. But I secretly, in my heart of hearts, want him to somehow be like, you know what, Eric, screw this guy. I'm taking this guy down. And I'd be like, you go, BG. And Eric's like, aren't you supposed to be supporting me? You go, BG. Do what you got to do.
It would be
buddy.
best if he just found a way to get all of the Leprechaun cards and just once a day shipped one to Eric's mailbox. Just every day a Leprechaun card shows up.
Oh God, that'd be.
I mean, there's werewolves and mummies and vampires.
With a side of mayonnaise.
I do not want any of them.
What if Reggie is being chased by a gigantic anamorphic mayonnaise jar?
Definitely don't want that.
You're into that kind of thing. That'd be pretty sweet for you.
I definitely don't want that. That's just disgusting.
I mean, there's the Mothman, and there's all kinds of creatures that we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah.
Rabid Boston Bruins fan. Mythical creatures.
What's up with this at Leaf? It's just so stupid.
I actually kind of like it.
Oh God! Listen, I already told you. Go find something else to do.
We said earlier that what's great about this, or you said, and I quote, "What's great about this hobby is that you can hate something and I love it." And we're all like, "Yep, sage words, Eric." And here we are.
I said that off air. I'm a different person there.
Boy,
I'm just listen. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm very concerned about you, Eric. You've been a big troublemaker tonight.
I don't.
And
care.
not even on the regular channel. Just atrocious. Just atrocious.
Can I show off a PC I've just started?
Of course, please do.
Awesome. Started off with the too bright. Sorry, Vladislav Tretiak. It's the thing I'm hunting now.
Very nice.
Got some autos, some be a player autos. Sorry, my lights are too bright here. Some in the game stuff.
I don't think I have anything of him. I may have a sportscaster card that he's on from '77, but that might be it.
I think I have this '72 team card.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah, bought this for $4. I was like, this is so cool.
That's from '77. If you look, I don't think that's 72.
Oh, is it?
78, 79. They did through 3 years there, Eric.
Yeah. So, but that one's 77, I think.
Is it? It's a game card, like, or what was the deal with that set, Bobby? Do you know?
I haven't even documented it. It's so stupid.
And then I got this.
I have hundreds of them. Thanks.
This one too. With Charlamov and a couple of other guys, Boris Mikolov.
Yep.
I started getting into Soviet hockey stuff recently, and this has been a fun little get. Tretiak seems to be the guy that everybody really wants.
Sure.
Yeah, he was big in '72, the '72 series.
Now, who drafted him?
Canada.
What?
Montreal.
Montreal drafted him
in '83. Yeah, and his the coach, who was also, I don't know what his rank was, because they were they're all Red Army.
Right.
Yes.
Wouldn't let him play either in the United States, and when he ultimately retired, not long after that, he basically forced him out. He said he wanted to spend more time with his family, and he said no. So he's like, "Fine, I quit."
Mm-hmm.
Then he went into politics, and we won't talk about that, but whatever.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, Russian politics. Yeah. Whatever.
I found Eric's burner account. Becca grading funding the Kennedy assassination, allegedly.
Allegedly.
See, at least your burner was able to include allegedly. So I appreciate that. I think that's important. They did all sports, many images, multiple countries printed them. That's very true. Did know Tretiak was drafted? Well, he was a soldier. Yep. In the '77 sportscaster set, there is a sportscaster Gretzky. I don't know. I think it was '78. Was it '78?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So
you're close. I think it's '78. If I remember.
It's done in 5 different languages, and then there's
so
crazy.
Yeah, there were.
Does there exist a Gretzky minor league card?
Yeah, I guess. Well, there's
that sportscaster
cards.
is as close as you're going to get.
Yeah, I think so. He had some minor league postcards. So otherwise, no real official Gretzky. There is one in his Oshawa Generals uniform, but I think they did that later on down.
He didn't play for Oshawa.
Oshawa was everybody's favorite.
Sorry,
Greyhounds, the Sioux
Greyhounds. Yeah, that one from '91 or something. I think they redid it or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, I want to say if the sportscaster was '78, I believe then he would have been with WHA Oilers for that one. I think that would have been the deal with that one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I guess, Jason, it depends. Do you consider the WHA to be, a minor league issue, or do you consider it to be, it is a professional league. It is a professional league. They competed with the NHL for a little bit there until obviously they smushed the leagues together.
The WHA cards, they were issued as inserts or as just part of the main set, and
they had their own sets.
They had their own packs.
74
for some of the years,
6, 7, 4 years, plus the posters in '73. Yeah.
Was going back to that question, was McGillney the first defection? I thought it was like the 5, Fetisov and.
No, it was the guy from Calgary that won the Rookie of the Year.
Sergei Makarov was the first one.
Yeah.
You know what
Which I'm offended by because he robbed Modano. How dare he?
Have you ever heard that Makarov was in the Miracle on Ice game? So he was an active player in 1980 for the Miracle on Ice, and he won the Rookie of the Year in 89-90.
Well, that's what after that they changed the rule.
Yeah,
I think
because of him. Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm never going to question history when it comes. What happens happens.
Yeah.
But him being Rookie of the Year, being like clearly a veteran player who had played professionally, like internationally, and done all that, it's like that's basically what changed the rule. After that, they're like, we're never making Rookie of the Year
professionally for 12 plus years already before he came.
I think
to
he
this.
was 30 something years old.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So that's
Mike
kind
Modano
of
was 11.
Yeah.
When he played in the Miracle on Ice game.
Yeah, he was a kid. So that's what makes the whole thing funny.
That's interesting because baseball hasn't changed theirs because when Ichiro came over, and I believe even Matsui came over, I think some of those guys won. I know Ichiro won Rookie of the Year, and they've never changed the baseball rules because Ichiro played how many years in Japan before he came over? So it's interesting that baseball has not changed their rules around if you played in other professional leagues, you can't qualify for Rookie of the Year.
I just think it hasn't come up as much. Like it's one of those things where I think they looked at this like he was 27 when he came over, so he had but he had been playing years and years and years in Japan. So like obviously he had already a nice career in Japan before he came over. I don't know. I actually think at 27 he was actually younger than Makarov was when he won the
Makarov
rookie there.
in his 30s. I'm
So I think
31.
Now, 27 obviously is more advanced age to be Rookie of the Year, but it's like, all right, at least you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
We feel a little better about it. Do we feel great? We feel better?
Yeah.
I want to lower it even further because I think Kirill Kaprizov robbed Jason Robertson.
Ooh, hold on. Whoa.
Easy.
Whoa.
Thanks, Wes.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Don't
I got you,
help
buddy.
him.
I got
Whoa,
you.
don't help him. Oh, my goodness. Dano was a 26-year-old Rookie of the Year. There you go. So at least in the same age range. So that it has happened before.
Brandon, nothing? Nothing?
I went the baseball route tonight. I let you guys.
Okay. I'll let you off the hook if you don't have anything. If not, nothing.
Time to start the dump.
Not right now. Not right now.
All right.
So Gretzky was with the Indianapolis Racers. That was the WHA team he was with.
That's the team I was thinking of.
One of them, yeah. He did that for like a cup of coffee, literally. No, the WHA, the Oilers were here in WHA. Yeah, he had a season in WHA as an Oiler.
Yes.
The very last season.
He only played a few games in Indianapolis, and then he
got. It was like literally a cup of coffee. Hold on, I'll get the
exact. Only a few. He only played a few games in Indianapolis, and he got traded to the WHA Oilers, and then the next year they went into the NHL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 79-80 was the expansion.
Yeah, so the exact one was 78-79 was his year in the WHA. Total of 80 games, 8 as an Indianapolis Racer, 72 games as an Oiler.
That's what I said.
Yeah. So total, he still got 104 points as an Oiler in the WHA. 104 points and 43 goals. Finished with 46 total.
Yeah, at like 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He was 18 technically.
Against grown men.
He did 6 points as an Indianapolis Racer, though. He did get 6 points as a racer
in 7 games.
Yeah, so
I want to know what they traded him for. What did Indianapolis get back from the Oilers for Wayne Gretzky?
That's a fair question. I don't know. Let's
like future considerations.
I don't
player to be named later.
There was no future.
There was no future. The team folded.
He was
waiting for the future to this very day.
They probably sold him, right? I mean, that makes the most sense.
Probably.
Who knows?
Yep. Oh, so there you go.
Here's one of the earliest hockey ones. This is 1976. But it's just a checklist. It's not even a price guide.
Jeez.
That's pretty early.
Yeah.
Checklist guide.
Yeah, so it doesn't really, it just kind of goes through. And they add some food
issues. Books on there.
So they would do stuff like that. That's who's in the set and what have you. So
that's something. That's nice. Cool.
Yeah, different.
Yeah, it was a reference. At that point, the value thing wasn't as big a deal for a lot of them. It was like, just give me a checklist. I need to know who's in the set so I can collect the set. And there you go. I got what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my favorite Beckett book I ever got was the Beckett Team Checklist book for baseball, because it was just the players on each team, and because I was collecting 60 Pirates, 61 Pirates, and great to have a checklist.
Yeah, Beckett put out some really good magazines in the early mid 2000s, like those ones and what have you. Is that the timeline you're talking, or is it?
Yeah, I think they did the Team Checklist. I think they started them sometimes in the late 90s. But yeah, like they started putting out just like informational books outside of their price guide on Beckett Publishing, and then and then they were sold. And I don't even know the whole history of how they were sold, who bought them, but it seems like it's gone down quite a bit, even on the publishing side.
Yeah, the publishing side is, they got rid of Al Muir. I used to write for Beckett for a year in 2008, 9. And then Al Muir was there, and then he got gone, and then somebody else replaced him, and it's just been a up and down battle for the last. And Al Muir came back actually just recently, so who knows? He went to Sports Illustrated, I think, and then he came back.
Well, Sports Illustrated is pretty much gone
It's
away.
all
as
AI
well.
generated now.
Yep. Yeah,
They don't have any
right?
staff.
Yeah, they're pretty much done in that regard. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
It's kind of sad.
I think what's going to be interesting, and what happened with a lot of that stuff, is that at the time, especially in late 90s, early 2000s, I remember that there were some folks, because obviously you had the checklist, Beckett was out there and all that, but I remember there were some folks who would make like checklists for like players. I actually remember there was somebody who made like a little mini business out of, we'll print you like a whole checklist. They had little mini booklets.
That was
and they would actually.
Richard Scott. He was the editor for the Canadian sports magazine, Sports Collector.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
And you could basically order whatever players you wanted, and they would have a checklist, a little booklet, the check boxes and everything, and it would have a lot of the different sets and everything in there. At the time, you could still do it. It was a little different.
He did a side gig, so he was the editor for the CSC, the Canadian Sports Collector, and he borrowed that to do his own little books, which is really kind of funny because he was just taking the information that was already in the database, and then he made his own little books. Then he did the history of O-Pee-Chee, this recent book, and Parker's too. But really, it was sort of like this. It was just all the cards. There's no history. There's no George Kennedy. There's no mention of anything. And all these people said, I bought this history of O-Pee-Chee, and there's nothing in there. It's just a picture of the cards. And I said, there you go.
I just remember them because you could order those little booklets, and they were pretty much the handiest reference you can have at the time, because at least the truth is, all they did was take the information that existed and compile it. That was the thing. Just because we didn't have access to it, and that was the issue at that time, is we just look. I can go through the guide and go like, all right, so for this set, he's card number 98, and how many parallels we got? Okay, and then start building my own checklist from scratch. But they at least would put the checklist together, and you could do little check boxes. That was a different conversation.
So for hockey, like in baseball, there's the Baseball Cardpedia, which is kind of a holy grail website for the 90s guys.
And that's run by what's his name? It's the one who did Steel Gum, isn't it? He's the one who ran it. Chris Olds, or no, not Chris Olds. Whoever was the Steel Gum, I'm pretty sure he runs Baseball Cardpedia, I believe.
But there doesn't exist one for football. And does there something like that exist for hockey cards, like a Baseball Cardpedia, where everything, odds, checklist, distribution methods, cost exists in hockey?
Wish.
Of course. Should I say it?
Well, I think he means beyond 1990.
Beyond 1990.
Beyond 1990, no. Before 1990, sure. Before 1990, sure.
Yeah.
After 1990, not so much.
No.
Yeah.
Chris Harris, thank you. That was the one, Jeff. That's the name I was trying to remember. So thank you for that. No, I'm just saying I'm pretty sure he was the one involved with Baseball Cardpedia, which, by the way, is a great reference. I agree with him. It's a Wikipedia basically for baseball cards. You punch in the set, you get a little table with odds. And here's the thing: when you're a 90s collector, you're like, okay, but what are the odds? Like, is it 136 packs? Is it whatever? Like, you're good to go.
Well,
whenever you're good, you can take off.
Cool. Thanks, man.
They also give you some idea
Hang
around.
for another minute. Sorry.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna skip out too. Appreciate everybody. I don't want to. Some of the people in the chat may remember the Nats man incident when he fell asleep on camera live.
All right, but this is your last chance. If you're going to do a Jason Robertson punt, now is the time before, and then you can literally run for your life, run for the hills.
Do it.
I got you, Bobbles.
I'm going to be respectful and not.
Wow.
I have
For the
legitimate
charity.
PMGs. We had some PMG talk.
This
I'll
is Hobby
share the-
Palooza. Are you kidding? Thank
I'll
you.
share the green.
Right. Right. That's what I thought.
But no, appreciate you
Gold.
guys.
PMG.
Of course, of course.
And-
We're about to wind down anyway. We look, unless y'all want Eric to read War and Peace. Well, by the way, I'll leave him here. I'll let him do it. I'll let him do it. Like I can
was
go
gonna
get a
show
snack.
my,
I'll go eat.
Listen, I've been queued up the whole time. I'm ready to
I was-
go.
Going to show my greatest modern hockey card of all time. The Connor
Oh,
Bedard.
look at you. Look
Oh,
at
very
you.
Nice.
Wow.
Who is that?
In
I
a
don't know that
9,
person.
Jason. Not Jason in a 9. Come on.
Yeah.
What are we doing over
Well,
Did you even pull that yourself, Jason?
I did on EPAC.
Entry level.
there? Okay.
You
Oh, you
didn't sneak in
On
and give it a
EPAC,
10?
yeah.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. We'll start winding her down. If anybody in the chat wants to say anything, they can. I'll read a couple of the comments. So first, Brandon, thank you for popping in. Appreciate you. Go take off before you keel over. So appreciate it. Wes as well. Thank you for joining in. Appreciate you.
Thanks,
I
fellas.
thought I
It
would
was
bring in a
fun.
couple of player collectors, and it was fun to bring some of them in to chat on some of this stuff.
Mhm.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you, gentlemen. We will chat later on.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
You guys.
Have a good one. Take it easy, boys. Perfect.
And
Yes.
number 4.
Yes. What I'm going to do though is I'll start winding her down, but at the same time, I'll also let us kind of finish in a straightforward way, because I also want to make sure that I get a chance to give a plug to a couple of things that we'll talk about. So by the way, I don't know if any of you guys have taken advantage of it tonight. The whole time we've been talking on the scrolling ticker has been the PayPal, where you can do the goods and services for the charity. It is a charity stream. We don't control that portion of it. It's right there, so you can do it, and that makes sure it goes to the charity in question. So feel free to give to that. If you want to like or add the engagement to it, that just helps kind of represent it. And there's going to be some more live streams tomorrow, so there's going to be a whole slate of them. You guys can check that out. So that's going to be a good one. So let me make sure I read a couple of these, and then we'll make sure we get some plugs in to wind it down. So we got that covered here. Snip Vintage and Shoe Still Gum at Hobby Palooza, while Hobby Palooza has XXX. There you go. Wants an AK card now worth a fraction of that. Shame. Just over 2 hours, Eric got so lucky. See, and we truncated Friday just to give Eric the energy, the time to be able to do it.
Mhm.
Love it. Appreciate it, Dom. Good stuff. Appreciate it. Yes. So we'll wind her down. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the Hobby Palooza folks for having us. We appreciate it. We brought a brand of nonsense. We behaved ourselves for a whole hour.
I think we did pretty well in that hour.
Yeah. And then after that, Jason, after that, it just all fell apart.
Well, I mean, I think lawyers, are going to get paid a little bit from this. Not too much.
Yeah, hey, listen, it's something. It's something. We did it. We did a good job. We managed. Appreciate you folks. Now, Jason, Cards and Comics is the YouTube channel. I know you've also been working your way through the 90s box breaks. Can you give me some of the stuff that's happening on the channel? Give me some of the projects you're working on.
Yeah, so I'm opening every box from the 90s. I'm about 70 something boxes through the 90s, and only got about 400 more to go. But it's an ambitious project. I think it'd be the first person ever trying to do something like that and document every box break from the 90s. So join me on that, and I also share my personal collection pickups. I also do comic books. So if you like comic book, I do mostly Golden Age comic books, but you'll see some modern stuff on there too, some variants. But
you can see the background just to give you a little bit of a taste.
Yeah.
Give you background a little bit of a taste of what's going on there.
My head.
And
And I'm a very collectors based channel. I feel like you're going to come to my channel and you'll see some fun cards and some hobby chat. And I have zero sponsorship, so I can say what I want. So sometimes it'll be just my opinion. And but yeah, I appreciate being on the channel, and thanks Carlos for inviting me. And I really enjoy talking to collectors because this is kind of what I do for fun.
Absolutely, and I appreciate it.
Having you. Appreciate you
absolutely.
coming by.
So bricking in terms of that, part of that area yet with gloss. So bricking in terms of has been an issue with some of those, definitely,
Yes.
because some of the gloss ones, it's an issue. Like, especially with
Metal
some of those
Universe
90s.
was probably my worst because it was the most expensive box. The thing that was weird about that box break, the 98 I opened, was that all the inserts were okay because of how they were inserted. They were, I think, backwards. so they didn't get bricked up with the rest of the cards. But basically, every base card was destroyed and every insert was okay, including the PMG. I did get the Jim Edmonds PMG, and it was fine. But it was just a weird box where everything was pretty much trash except for the inserts.
So do you think most of the boxes are like that going forward?
I think a lot of the boxes are like that because of how that set was printed, and just I don't think they were doing shelf life testing on cards back then, so they didn't really know what was going to happen 2-3 years after the cards were printed. I mentioned I opened a box of this screenplays, the kind of lenticular product, and you can't get, and they have these films on them, and you can't get them off. They're still welded to the cards. So that whole, you open a box of that, and you're gonna basically have to soak them in water to get off the.
Well, wouldn't those boxes be worth little now opposed to being worth more?
It just depends. Like some things are very expensive. Like still, like anything that you can get a PMG out of or an essential credential, it's very expensive. But some things have gotten way down. I mean, if you look at like I love Top Stars and Steel, my favorite sets, and it was super expensive back in the 90s. So it's actually cheaper now than it was back in 1990 to open that. So it's just some sets have gone way down in price because they're just not that popular. But it really some sets could be $1,000, $1,200 a box for something that has like a PMG in it.
I think part of the problem also is that it goes back to kind of rule number one. A lot of people don't know. Like it's like the bricking is real, especially for some of the sets that have a lot of gloss and certain types of surfaces on them. They're particularly prone to, especially this far down the road. The problem was if you go ahead.
Stadium Club Fluor Ultra are going to be your worst because of the gloss fronts. They just almost and the one thing I say is that I can usually tell on how the box is stored, because if I open a box and I can feel the packs have kind of a texture to them, they start losing their color, like they get see-through because of light and air and moisture. I know that product's going to have a lot more problem. When someone stores these products in a way that prevents moisture and air from getting to the product, you're going to have a much better chance of not having bricking and issues like that, because it's just moisture is the damage, is also the kind of the devil on these products as well. If you don't store these in the right way, it doesn't matter how good the set is, you could have damaged cards or cards that stick together.
And that goes for vintage wax too.
Yeah, vintage wax as well. So it's just something that the packs are not airtight. They're they can still have oxygen and water permeate the cards. So it's just something, but you get good at it when you start opening these products more and more. You kind of feel the packs, and you can kind of tell about how dirty and dusty the box is and how the packs feel if something's going to be wrong.
And I think it's funny because you already mentioned the moisture in terms of the humidity and things like that at the atmosphere, wherever it's been stored. Right. I had that where the infamous thing, we always talk about, the greening on, refractors and things like that. And I can tell you that there's a bunch of elements. It's oxidation. It's, there's a variety of different things that happen with it. I remember opening 1994 Bowman Best out of the box, putting the cards in, throwing them in a box and leaving them there for years. But before I got the heat pump installed here, Bobby, like humidity was the order of the day every summer. So oxidation, it's not sunlight. Those things were sitting in the box. I opened them up, greened all the way through. Those things were fine. I pulled them out of the pack myself. They were fine. They sat in a box for a decade without being touched and greened all the way through. Everybody was the Incredible Hulk. And it's humidity, it's atmosphere, it's all the things that you talk about. There's nothing you can do. There is nothing unless you keep it in like climate control conditions and don't allow things to interfere with it. That's the only way.
It's funny. Like there was a really big wax hoarder, and he built his own warehouse to hoard his own to store his own wax, and 86 Fleer cases, things like that were in there. And they said, Steve Hart was talking about it. When they went in and opened everything up, everything was perfect. Like, it's just storage is and the guy was smart. He knew he was going to, he collected wax, and that's what he was going to, he built his own warehouse for it, perfectly climate, conditions. And when they went in and started opening boxes and looking at his product, it was, he had done the right thing. It's just, I'm in a basement right now. I'm not very climate controlled, and I'm sure I'm probably damaging some stuff the way I'm storing things today. It's just not everyone has the ability to store things, properly, and we don't have humidors and in our basements for all of our cards.
Well, here's something interesting. We used to open packs at our booth at the Toronto Expo, and we're talking expensive packs, 57, what have you. They go for like $4,000 today. Anyways, when we opened a 57 Parker's pack, the top card was Snow White, but the cards underneath, they looked toned. Mm-hmm. So it was the backing that actually affected the cards. Them being against the back, opposed to the outside, where it was the top card. There was only gum on top, and it was perfectly white. So you have a difference of where it's stored, what it does. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, you'll see that sometimes too. With you'll see like where the gum or something like on a card, even if the gum doesn't stick to the card, it could change the color of the cardboard. There's all kinds of weird stuff when you open these packs now, where you see like the impression of the cards into the card. I've seen that before where they're not, they're all, stored, or they're kind of sideways in the pack a little bit. And then all of a sudden you see a press edge. It's everything in this hobby, like to get a card that's been out of a pack. That's one thing I always say is like the grading on stuff like T cards, and when you see something that's a mint 9 T card or 52 tops, it does get a little suspicious. I think that's where grading came in, but it's still there's things there that can tell you like how if that should be realistic or not. And I don't think T cards grading a PSA 9 is that realistic, due to just the decades of storage and how they came out of packs, and there was no protection of anything back then. So it's very hard for me to think that there's a lot of T cards out there that should be in mint 9 condition.
I think that's a completely fair statement. I would say. So you can also check out, like I said, you can check out the YouTube channel. A lot of it, I've been on there with Jason chatting with him. He's been on my channel chatting with it, and we've had extensive conversations on a variety of different things. So you got a little bit of a taste there, especially at the tail end about it, because he's got a lot of understanding of the 90s, 2000s, but then also collector vintage as well. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. You get a little bit of all those things related to it. Eric basically corrects Reggie Lemonin and Boston Bruins, and Lord knows if he knows anything else. Cycling. If you want to talk about cycling, Eric's got you. If you go to Sanders Findor on Instagram, cycling.
I also collect mountain biking cards.
I'm completely confident you printed that in your house. I'm still convinced that you did that yourself.
That is tops, and it is serial numbered to $3.99, $2.99.
And Michael Rubin and I need to have a serious conversation. We need to have words.
He spelled tops with one P.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm worried. We got a lot of concerns. So you can also check out Bobby Burrell on my YouTube channel as well. We hang out on Fridays. The second after we cross the first hour is a little bit more of kind of our more standard fare, a little bit more of a little taste of what it is. By the way, again, thank you for everybody in the 4 Collectors channel for inviting us. So you got more than an hour. You got 2 hours plus. We got into the Sunday.
When do I get to read War and Peace?
The time is nigh, Eric. The time is nigh. I'm going to finish my statement, and then you're going to start reading.
Okay.
Get ready. Get ready.
Right.
When I point to you, you're going to start reading War and Peace.
Okay,
I'm ready.
I want the first copy of the Poopy Pony comic book too, because I think that would be amazing.
That's
valid. I think that IP is absolutely key to the future of the channels. It's key to the future of the channels. You see more than a few 51, 52 Parkhurst hockey and higher grades lately, which seems odd. So worth putting a cement mixer.
There's nothing on the back.
Yeah. It dries his sneakers in a dryer. I know he's Eric's a very strange man.
That's weird. Yeah.
I never put him in the dryer. I just put him in the washer. I let him sit out.
Mortal Kombat arcade behind Jason. Spent many hours playing that back in the day. I played a little Mortal Kombat in my time too. Not in the arcade as much. I played the home system, but yes. Good times to have the arcade. So I want to thank everybody again for participating in it. There's going to be more live streams on Sunday, a whole variety of them. We have officially reached Sunday on the East Coast. West Coast folks, you got some time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Otherwise, go check out the rest of the playlist. You can go onto the channel, check out the playlist. You'll see all the stuff. You can go back and watch all the live streams that happen the entire rest of the night. You can go check that out from beginning to end. And then on Sunday, you're going to have a whole bunch of other stuff. So you're going to have that included in it. Love it. Appreciate you, Blix. Appreciate you, Zach. Appreciate you. Hit the like button. Eric's going to pay for it. Eric, now that we've concluded that, by the way, I'm about to shut down the live stream. Eric, commence the War and Peace. Begin.
War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, Book 1, 1805, Chapter 1. Well, Prince, so Genoa and Lucca are now family